Ships backed up heavy, that's a bad headline. They said, sir, be careful. I said, watch me go. I run the pressure game, I just steal the show. 48 hours, yeah, I set the clock. You either open up or I rock the dock. People call it risky, I call it a deal. Big moves only, that's just how I feel. Open the strait, or I will. Big ships moving, you know the drill. Push one button, overkill. Nobody does it like me. Nobody will, nobody will. Open the strait, be smart. You don't want the second part. Lights go out, engine stop. When I go big, I hit the top. I hit the top, yeah. Oh, they talk tough online, yeah, I've seen it before, but they fall real quick when I raise the score. All caps typing, yeah, I mean every word, say it loud enough. The whole world's heard, Allah sitting quiet. I call him out, if you're not with me, what's that about? I say, we're winning, and I repeat, turn the pressure up. Open the strait, oh I will. Big ships moving, you know the drill. Push one button, overkill. Nobody does it like me. Nobody will, nobody. Open the strait, be smart. You don't want the second part. Lights go out, engine stop. When I go big, I hit the top. I hit the top. Tick-tock, clock don't wait, I decide the final stage. Say my name, dominate every move I escalate. They said no, I said watch, flip the switch, tight in the notch. World stage, stand the spot, I take everything. You go open the strait, or I will. Big ships moving, you know the drill. Push one button, overkill. Nobody does it like me. Nobody will, nobody. Open the strait, be smart. You don't want the second part. Lights go out, engine stop. When I go big, I hit the top. Open the strait, or I will. Big ships moving, you know the drill. Push one button, overkill. Nobody does it like me. Nobody will, nobody. Open the strait, be smart. You don't want the second part. Lights go out, engine stop. When I go big, I hit the top.
Welcome to the next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
How's it going, everybody? It is April 20th or 420 for all you potheads out there. 2026. It is Monday night, which means it is a conversation with Just Alpha. Everything changes. The show is live. Do me a solid, folks. Share this out. Get it out to as many people as we can. Let's make this odd. Do what you guys do. Like, I feel compelled to ask and make the request every time I do a show. But you guys always come through. So again, thank you for that. I was watching the chat and people were like, Josh, is this still going? I need to figure something out with Josh on these times because we're all over the place. We both had a very, very busy day today. And I think you guys will be very happy as to why we were busy tomorrow night on DEF CON. That's over there on Badlands at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Be prepared, folks. Get your big jug of water. We're going to have to refill this. Get whatever else you need. It is going to be a long show tonight. But we will finally be caught up because I anticipate a mini Just Alpha later this week just to cover some things. But after tonight, we will be caught up with everything from the last 2 weeks. And I think you guys are going to enjoy this conversation. What are we going to talk about? Some of the stuff? I guess I can give a little hint because I heard somebody let it slip. And if you guys know, don't put it in the chat. Do not put it in the chat. I'll be watching. But we'll start off after we get into the general news. UFOs, alien scientists are dying. What the heck is going on? We're going to have a conversation on Subversion, Charlie Kirk's bullet. And I'll just get it out early. It's going to be a major I told you so. We're going to talk about Trump, the plan, Melania and Epstein, and then we got some cool videos at the tail end of this one. It's gonna be a good night, and I think you guys are gonna enjoy it. So please do me a solid, share this stuff out. I'm gonna run through a couple ads right now. Can't get through all the people that support this show, so do me a solid when you have a chance, especially if you're watching the replay. Go down in the description, and you'll find all the partners, sponsors, and affiliates there. But first on deck, the Loyal Tech Club.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings. Regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
And you'll see a QR populate up on your screen right now. If you're watching on the great one and only Rumble from MCG Tactical. Hey guys, you know how dialing in your optic can burn through boxes of ammo and half your weekend? Well, not anymore. With the bore sighter, you can zero any optic in under 90 seconds. That's a minute and a half, folks, without firing a single shot. This thing's a total game changer. Zero faster than ever, from the small stuff to the big stuff, even a 50 cal. No ammo, no range time, USB rechargeable, ready to go every time. Whether you're getting prepped for hunting season or just like keeping your gear dialed in, the bore will save you time, money, and a whole lot of frustration. To grab yours, just scan the QR code on your screen or head over to mcgtac.com/alphabore to get the faster, easiest way to zero your optic, period. Again, folks, this is the fastest, easiest, smartest way to zero. So if you're ready to dial it in, go to mcgtac.com/alphabore, scan that QR code, especially if you're watching the replay, or go down in the link and click the description. It is showtime, folks. So let me get this situated. Let me bring this up on the screen. If I see any super chats of new people joining or gifted subscriptions, I'll read those as the show is going, so I don't miss them. But all the super chats and rumble rants, I will do those at the end of the show. And again, it is going to be a long one, folks. So hope you guys are prepared. If you came in when the show started, you saw the teaser video. Saw that the general had reposted this. Praying Medic was the one that he got it from. And yes, it was a reggae mix with some of your favorite people, including the Boss and Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard. And I mean, you name it, you saw him, Rubio, like everybody was in there. I thought it was a great way to kind of lighten the mood. And shout out to Doc Eats, gifted 5 subscriptions to the AlphaWarrior Show right out of the gate. Thank you for that, Doc. But it was reggae, it was fun, and it was entertaining, but it was dropping some bombs with regards to the Hormuz Strait. And here's what I'll say. Here's the one thing that I love about our community, and some of the collaborations that I have with people, is we've been pretty damn accurate over a very long window. I would argue, and of course there's a bias, me, Josh, and a few others have probably been the most accurate. And that's going to matter, especially over the course of the next 10 to 12 weeks, setting us up for what's coming down the pipeline for midterms. So let's get into some of the general news, which there are some pretty important things, but you guys know, listen, judge me, I don't care. And shout out Flo Delisle. Okay, I got to get this right. So Flo, but I know you said last time, I think you said just say Flo, but I want to know how to say it the right way. But Flo gifted 5 subscriptions on the AlphaWarrior Show, so thank you for that, Flo. But do one of those, break it down for Marines, how you spell, Lee, or however it is. Like, someone help me out here. If you're supporting me, I at least want to be able to get your name right, Flo. But here we go. Variety puts out Top Gun 3 is officially in the works at Paramount, with Tom Cruise set to return and Jerry Bruckheimer producing, as announced at #CinemaCon. Now, I saw some people, including Buzz, that put out, "Don't do another one, you'll ruin it." Listen, my all-time favorite movie, if you guys don't know by now, my all-time favorite movie is Top Gun, the original, with a close second being Maverick, right? Yeah, I don't want them to ruin it either, but give me 3. And give me 4. If you want to make Top Guns the next Mission Impossible, maybe don't go that far with it. But listen, how long did we wait? Like 30, 40 years for the sequel? And here we are, maybe in the next year or two, that we're going to get Top Gun 3. I got it. Listen, I'm good with this one. And who knows what we'll get in that. So again, let me know in the chat if you think they should end it at 2, or if you're good with 3 and more. Granted, they already made the decision, but I'd love to get where you guys. And Docky says, love the original beach scene. 100%. Dog tags, the volleyball game. Yeah, we could talk about that all day. Then we get into Benny Johnson puts out, John Solomon just blew my mind with his prediction about deep state accountability. Solomon says President Trump is about to begin declassifying documents at lightning speed in an operation he is calling hypersonic clarity. You've heard us talk about this, but this is good to put at the front end of the show just so it makes sense. So rather than just read this, let me let you listen to Benny and John.
I think we're going to call, I'm going to give a code name. I know the FBI likes code names, so I'm going to make one up today. I think the President of the United States in the next couple of weeks will announce an operation. I would call the code name Hypersonic Clarity. We're going to get a level of transparency in a release and declassification of documents unparalleled in American history. The President's setting up something that I think will be unbelievable. There will be a speed of lightning, a speed of sound to release of documents. And those documents will help this prosecutorial team in Miami that's doing this hard work to not have to do secret proceedings and secret classified proceedings because the documents will be unclassified. The public will have transparency. The prosecutors will have. That will make it easier, I think, for the prosecutors to find the bad guys and sort the good guys from the bad guys out without having to have months and years of secret proceedings, what are called Secrecy Act hearings, which slow everything down. They're going to ungum the trail, and things are going to move quickly. I do think there will be some accountability. There'll never be enough for what we went through the last 12 years. We were deprived of a fair election because of this meddling in these PSYOP operations. We've been kept from information about vulnerabilities in our election system, which I'm going to have some good stories on that next week. But transparency can speed the prosecutorial accountability project. It's something that the deep state did well to keep Bill Barr from achieving before 2020. I don't think this Justice Department is going to fall for that. I think there'll be a speed of disclosure and a speed of prosecution that we didn't see in past years. The grand conspiracy case will be the ultimate thing. Can they make that? To get a grand conspiracy, Benny, you're going to have to do what prosecutors do when they take down a mob boss, right? Remember, they had to flip Sammy the Bull to get the Gambino family. They're going to have to take a capo in this intelligence law enforcement machinery and flip them. And if you get one big name person and you flip them, maybe a deputy FBI director, a senior FBI official, a senior intelligence council official, and you say, hey, we'll make a deal with the devil because you're going to testify up and down, I think they make that conspiracy case in a powerful way, and this begins to change very quickly. So keep an eye. Those are the things I'm watching for as a reporter in the next few weeks.
Wow.
Now let's rewind the clock, folks. Let's rewind the clock all the way to the beginning of last year when everybody was calling for the resignation early and all that. And we've hammered that out on this show, so I'm not going to give the full context of that. I think most of you already know where we're at with that. But the point being, what we kept telling everybody, or at least what I kept telling everybody, is this is going to be RICO. We're going RICO. And everybody's, no, that's not what it's going to be. You know, this is hopium. It's the MAGA cult. And I said, no, it's RICO. The signs are there, right? I never did a RICO case at the much smaller level. I did the gang injunctions and all that, but they mimic it. So I recognize these things. And if you heard a couple of things that John said there, one of the things he said is, you know, you make a deal with the devil, you get one of these larger names to flip, which is something I know me and Josh have definitely been telling you guys for a very long time, that there are going to be people that flip, because this is what's going to solidify the argument that the prosecution is going to make, whoever that prosecution is, whether it be the state, the federal, or military. That person that flips, that makes the deal, it's going to solidify that argument. It's going to help to establish that, yes, there was a criminal enterprise. It's going to help to establish that, yes, these people are all working together. And then he went out and he said, maybe it's a former director or a senior person at the FBI. Was he hinting that Comey is the one that's going to flip? Maybe. Is it a much bigger name than Comey? The point being is, when you have a massive RICO case that everybody knows is happening, the guys on the other end of that, the bad guys, in this case, the deep state, they stop trusting each other. And we're still at a war with them. So that's a huge benefit to us when the deep state apparatus doesn't trust each other, but they got to still keep fighting. That means people are they're watching. And that, folks, is a big deal. And that's going to pop up later on in the show, but I wanted to get everybody's gears kind of just working there right now as we get there. But like I said, that conversation is going to be much more in depth a little bit later in the show. So then we get to hear it. This is Crypto Barbie puts this out. Huge news. The United States is ready to abolish income tax. Bye-bye IRS. Folks, we've wanted it. We have said that this is going to happen. And now we have Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, folks. Like this is not a, just somebody in Trump's administration. This is the Treasury Secretary. And when you hear what he's saying, especially when you hear what he's trying to communicate to you without directly saying it, this is going to rock your socks.
I want to encourage everyone out there watching today to change their withholding if they haven't already done so, because if you change your withholding, then you will get an automatic real wage increase, be it on a weekly or a monthly basis, and you will be able to keep more of your money this calendar year.
You heard that right. The Treasury Secretary just told Americans, change what you're claiming on your exemptions. Now, what's interesting about this was a complaint I had to go into the illegals conversation when people say, well, these illegals pay taxes on these checks. And no, they don't. They claim 99 dependents. So they essentially are collecting their entire check. Well, you have the Treasury Secretary coming out telling you guys right now to do this. They're weaponizing this against the IRS. One, because what have we learned? This is the IRS is not a federal institution. What? Yes. We'll save that for a whole nother show. But as they're waging war against the people that have been robbing Americans, exploiting Americans, he's saying, hey, in the meantime, change your deductions. This tells you, folks, that Trump's administration has declared war against the IRS. Like that, there's no other way you're going to sell that a presidential administration. Let's just say Scott Bessent, just went on a wild one, right? And he just did this with complete disregard. I don't care what POTUS thinks. I'm going to come out and tell people this. If that would have been the case, he would have been fired immediately afterwards. And you would have had someone from Trump's administration come in and clean and say, hey, look, that's not in line with our messaging or our intentions. This person, we're going to, remove them from office, maybe put them somewhere else. But we're not, trying to get people to do that. That is yet to happen. It didn't happen. So what that tells you is that this message is approved by the boss, probably the person who told them to come out and deliver this message. So folks, don't listen to Alpha, listen to the Treasury Secretary, and go change your deductions on your W-2s, on your payroll forms. And like I said, I'm just repeating what the Treasury Secretary said. That is wild. That's hell of a good news right there. Nick Sorter puts out, wow, Erica Kirk is firing back at those who are coming after TPUSA. Quote, we have to show up again with 80 to 90% voter turnout in the midterms and fortify the red wall for the next decade. You have people out there who are actively trying to tear this country apart. And I couldn't agree with her more. Listen.
And now we have to show up again with 80 to 90% voter turnout in the midterms and fortify the red wall for the next decade. That's what we need to do. But at the same time, you have people out there who are actively trying to tear this country apart. They love to start fights, dividing us all against each other, spreading negativity, all to get clicks and influence the algorithm to maximize profits. Meanwhile, building is hard. Getting out the vote, talking to real people, spiritual revival, that's actual work. That is actual work. And my husband, Charlie, gave his life for that work. And what gets built lasts for generations long after the noise has run out of one-liners. No one understands this better than President Trump. No one. No matter what they throw at him, he perseveres in the face of adversity because the mission is too important.
So, again, you guys know my position when it comes to voting. Absolutely got to get there out there and vote. And there is an operation out there of people who are trying to get Americans, Republicans, MAGA, America First, to not vote and sell the argument that that is some type of playbook play that's going to yield the result that we want, which couldn't be further from the truth. And how do we know? I mean, do you trust your president? Because look at who your president, he's coming out, and I think we might even have this clip, but he's coming out telling Erica to deal with these cronies. He's Team Erica, not Team Candace, whether you agree people are playing roles or not. The surface level optics are Trump supports Erica. He's clowning on Tucker and these others, and we'll get into that later in the show. And this is her message that she's pushing, and she's pushing it to an audience that's very important. Charlie Kirk's audience, that demographic, that age group, that's the future of this country. That's why there's such a war over who's going to control that demographic of an audience. That's why they are pushing so hard on social media right now to influence. There are so many psychological operations that have a uniform for every specific group that exists in that demographic. You know how much work goes into that? From the recruiting to the training, to the identification, to the deployment. Like, that's a lot of work, and that is what the deep state's doing. Why would they be doing that if voting wasn't important? Something to think about, folks. Let's keep pushing on. Gordon Chang says the Pope, like the other 8.3 billion of us, has the right to comment on any matter he chooses, but he should confine his comments to matters of theology. His attack on Elon Musk is particularly inappropriate. And of course, you have the Pope that's out there trashing on Elon. And again, and you remember, I'm Roman Catholic, right? For transparency. Why are you picking on the Catholics? This is what I was raised with, folks, right? I'm a Christian man. But if you're someone who's been, red-pilled or awakened or in this community, we have been talking a long time the problems with the institutions, especially with the Pope. And, shout out to my little brother. I'm sure he's watching. I remember when he first approached me. Do you know who the brown Pope is? And the black Pope, and the red Pope? I was like, wait, you talking racist? And he's just like, bro. And I was like, bro. And that took me down a rabbit hole of some very interesting conversations. But nonetheless, one of the things that helps facilitate our thought process on who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, because there are levels to that. We got to have an understanding of who we're paying attention to and who we're listening. And if Trump's out there and he's exposing the Pope and the Pope is attacking certain people, then maybe those people that the Pope's attacking are people that are probably on our side. Just saying. And again, if you watched Q After Hours with us last night, and shout out to you guys. Holy smokes. Last time I checked earlier today, last night's show on Q After Hours, almost at 300,000 views. So thank you guys for that. I believe it got up to like number 5 on the Rumble leaderboard. So again, thank you guys for that. But one of the things we talked about is, you have the Q post that says Ascension, right? I believe it's the last one, second to the last one, but it says Ascension. Elon comes out, puts Ascension. It kind of flowed with the conversation we had last night, and this is who the Pope's attacking. So again, just something, chart it down as a data point, and as these data points accumulate, use your discernment and decide for yourself. Let's keep going. Colonel Towner puts out, yes, this happened, and so often in the U.S., the FBI and the DOJ has done this for decades. They find someone that has done something wrong, make them an informant. They use him to infiltrate a perfectly innocent group that disagrees with something the government is doing and uses the informant's testimony to convince innocent Americans. Our government is ran like a mafia. What is she talking about? Gitmo Health is Wealth put out Proud Boys were innocent. The start witness who convicted the Proud Boys of seditious conspiracy just recanted. His name was Jeremy Bertino. And folks, I was saying this through the entire 4-year battle, that when people were like, well, there's people coming out and, saying that they're guilty and saying, I said, one, the plea bargain system's been weaponized. Yeah, we need legislation to clean that up. We need major change and auditing of our plea bargaining system. You get the government with an open checkbook against an everyday American, in this case, some of the J6ers, that comes out and says, oh, you can fight this. And we'll look at 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, and you're 50, 60, 70 years old. So essentially that's a life sentence. Or you plead guilty and you do 18 months, maybe 20, and we'll give you probation and parole. And you get to at least have some semblance of a life. They get the guilty charge. They get to list it as a predicate crime. Remember that word, predicate crime. We're going to be talking about that later on the show. There'll be another, I told you. But this is one of the ways that you get corrupt law enforcement to weaponize a system against people who are innocent by using the weight of the government that has their foot on your neck. Well, that same scenario can be taken a step further with these groups, whether it's the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, 3%ers, plug in the name, where you get one of these guys and say, hey, look, you come out and admit to us that this is what you're saying, and we're accurate in our assessment of what this group's efforts were, and you'll get probation. And, some people do it because they're selfish. Some people do it because they're soft. Some people do it because of both. Some people do it because they're afraid. In situations like that, it sucks, but you shouldn't have joined something if, everybody wants to be a patriot till it's time to patriot the F up, right? And nonetheless, these testimonies were used to convict others of extensive sentences. And so now that you have one person that at least reportedly is retracting that statement and clearing the air, hopefully, and I believe it's going to, we're going to see a chain reaction where another person comes forward and says, hey, they did that to me too. And then another person, you know what? They did that to me too. And all of a sudden 3 voices turns into 12. And all of a sudden, what does that tell you? That this wasn't a one-off with some special agent that just wanted to pump numbers, that this was something that was orchestrated from the top to weaponize this and mislead people and provide false testimony in order to get convictions. And you're going to see that happen. It'd be interesting if there's a senior FBI person that is going to help identify to the good FBI agents that are working right now which cases they should probably be looking at. Hint, hint. Let's keep going before you start asking too many questions. Eric Darty puts Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent just fired off a warning to the oil and gas companies if they refuse to drop the prices the same way the prices raise. Let's take a listen to this. I believe I do have this one for you. Maybe I don't. No, I don't. Well, anyways, Treasury will be keeping retail gas stations honest. You did this on the way up. You better do this on the way down. I'm sure the president will call out to anyone who's a bad actor. CNBC, that sounds like a warning. Bessent, I'm sure everyone will be a good actor. So this administration they're playing thug rules, right? And that if you're not tracking what, especially with Scott Bessent and others, what they're doing, they're thugging. They're thugs. These are good guy thugs. They're flexing. They're flexing on the deep state. They're flexing on Mockingbird Media. And again, you got to remember what we talked about just a few minutes ago on the beginning portion of this show. They've created an environment of distrust within the deep state. Now, on top of that, you start to attack the deep state's one of their most powerful weapon systems, which is Mockingbird Media, and you start coming at them with this. It's Trump and team discombobulating the deep state, and it's working perfect. Now, unfortunately, it's affecting some of American bystanders that aren't recognizing it, but then this is unrestricted warfare. Homeland Security. This one hurts, folks. I held my son while he bled to death, is the quote. 12-year-old Derion James Robinson and 9-year-old Macaulay Lee Smith were killed by an illegal alien driving under the influence. These boys had their whole lives ahead of them. Instead, they were senselessly taken from this world by someone who should have never been in our country. Our prayers are with the families during this tragic time. If people want you to make an argument and weaponize your emotions against you when it comes to, should illegals be here? They shouldn't. And here's an event that is tragic, that will forever change the lives of these parents, their family, everybody else that was tied to them, and you, these young ones. They're gone. And you have these judges. You have federal officers and local officers that are doing a damn good job to find these people. And when they find them, they apprehend them. When they apprehend them, they put them into the system so the system can push them out the legal way. And you have this infiltration to the judicial system through attorneys and DAs and judges that then turn around and let these people walk while they're being paid by your dollar. And then when they walk, instead of being deported like the good people were trying to do, you have events like this. Events that could and should have been prevented. This is tragic. So I'll read you this post that I did, but just to give some context of what's going on. And I'll skim through it. I won't read the whole thing. But you have a source linked. Hennepin County DA Mary Moriarty just filed arrest warrants for ICE agents. She's claiming that they can be arrested anywhere nationwide. Now, this is true. I actually went fact-checked this story because I was just like, this has to be taken out of context. No, she literally has done this. Well, let's explain what's going on here. So I put important. If a state DA is actually issuing warrants to arrest ICE agents who are performing their lawful federal duties, that is no longer rhetoric. That's affirmative state action interfering with federal law enforcement. That opens the door to serious federal criminal exposure. First, is the DA's warrant even valid? A state DA cannot lawfully issue warrants to arrest federal agents for carrying out federal duties. Why? Immigration enforcement is exclusively federal authority. Courts have reportedly affirmed that states cannot block or interfere with ICE operations or their duties. So if the ICE agents are acting within federal law, the warrant is likely legally void, and now the DA is stepping into federal obstruction territory. Like this is the case, folks. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But let's just keep going. Number two. This crosses the line into federal crimes. With actual warrants issued, here are the most applicable charges. And we're talking about this DA or even the people on her team that helped to facilitate this. A, obstruction of federal law, 18 U.S.C. 1505 and 1512. The strongest and most likely, if the DA uses legal authority to interfere with ICE arrests, creates warrants specifically to stop federal operations, that is intentional obstruction of a federal function. And I'm going to explain to you why I'm spending time on this and why this matters to something else people probably don't recognize just yet. Impeding federal officers, 18 U.S.C. 111. This statute covers resisting, opposing, impeding, intimidating, or interfering with federal agents. Issuing warrants to arrest ICE agents is direct interference, especially if it causes hesitation, delay, or operation disruption. C. Conspiracy, 18 U.S.C. 371. You're going to see this a whole lot over the next 2-3 years. If the DA works with local police or officials to execute those arrests, that becomes conspiracy to interfere with federal officers. And the DOJ has already warned that efforts to arrest ICE agents could be viewed this way. D, deprivation of rights, supremacy clause. Who would act against the DA? Here's some of the ways that this would look. FBI would investigate public corruption, obstruction, civil rights violations. The DOJ would be the main decision maker, and they would seek the indictment, convene the grand jury, and potentially file the emergency injunction. The U.S. Marshals would be the one to execute the arrest after the indictment. So essentially, we'll say the bottom line. If the DA talks about arresting ICE, likely protected speech, actually issues arrest warrants, then it's everything that we just said. And since she actually did issue arrest warrants, we know that this is no longer protected speech. This is now unlawful interference. And shout out Breadmaker62, who just gifted 5 subscriptions to the AlphaWarrior Show. Much, much appreciated. And while I'm doing that, I'll see if any new subscribers on YouTube. Not just yet. And I will read the super chats and rumble rants at the end of the shows, folks. So don't think I'm missing that. I'm not. But here's the thing. This is kind of self-explanatory. I read it to you guys. However, why else is this important? If you guys remember me explaining, and I know you guys have been waiting on the article patiently, and eventually I got to get this thing out there. But this gets into the conversation of Trump using the Insurrection Act. Well, what about posse comitatus? What about, martial law? How does all this play? How does it look? Because Trump can't just come out and just say, we're going to declare the Insurrection Act. No, there's a series of things and boxes have to be checked before that. If local law enforcement is still functioning and in control of the community, then he can't declare the Insurrection Act. So you have to have whatever's occurring has to be beyond the threshold of what the local authorities, whether it's the law enforcement, whether it's the sheriff, or whether it's the National Guard that's under control of the governor. If they can't control it, then you got box number 1 is checked. Well, now you still need box number 2 because both things have to exist. Box number 2 in this situation has to be that the courts are not functioning. Now, typically, as I kind of study the history on this, the interpretation of that has been these riots are not allowing people to get to the courts, the judges, and the courts can't function that way. And that makes sense, but it's also very subjective on the wording on the court's functioning. Because if Trump comes out and uses cases like this to set precedents, there's a word we'll be talking about later in the show, to say, hey, you have DAs and judges that are compromised. They've been bought. They're part of a rigged election system. Whatever the case may be, whatever argument he can articulate that has at least probable cause to support it, you can now turn around and make the argument that that's why the court is incapable of functioning. And if those two things exist, now you see a legal pathway to deploy the Insurrection Act. It's a very summarized theory there of a very vast concept. And like I said, the Substack will go in great detail with that. It's actually a book, really. It's not really a Substack anymore. But let's keep going. Libs of TikTok puts out breaking. Chad Allen Carr, the former Democrat mayor of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and president of LGBTQ Pride Organization, has been arrested again on additional child sex crime charges. This time he was arrested in Texas after he left Pennsylvania following his initial arrest. Authorities will now extradite him back to Pennsylvania to face charges. Folks, when people tell you things aren't happening, don't let it demoralize you. These are the sickos. These are the evil, sick people that need to be found, investigated, arrested, and prosecuted. And it's happening. So when people, make the argument, nothing's happening, that couldn't be further from the truth. And here's proof of that case. Let's keep going. DNI Tulsi Gabbard, this is fire. She says, this is false. He no longer holds a clearance. Paul Sperry puts out, developing despite lying to IG investigators and now being the subject of a criminal referral. I'm told a source who once helped represent phony Trump impeachment whistleblower Eric Morella that he still maintains and enjoys top secret clearance, SCI clearance. And Tulsi comes out and says that is not true. What does this tell you? Well, one, it tells you that the DNI, and I would imagine the entire intelligence community, is monitoring all journalists, news organizations, alt media, and podcasters that probably have some form of significant reach, and whether they're putting out information intentionally wrong or because maybe they just got it wrong, they're on top of it. If you guys have been paying attention, especially the last 30 days, this administration is addressing false allegations from, again, people that meet that criteria I just described. They're addressing it like this. Boom, 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 boom. They're not allowing it to get traction. That is an active countermeasure operation against misinformation and propaganda. What does that mean? What am I saying here? That what we're seeing right now is a real-time fight to control the narrative of everything that's going on right now. So, again, when you see other information that surfaces from maybe it's CNN, maybe it's Fox, maybe it's alt media, and the administration doesn't address it, what does that all automatically mean that the administration thinks it's true? Could be. Or could it be the administration trying to identify who's going to run with it? Like, this gets complicated very fast. If you guys saw my notebook, you would be like, you're schizo. Sometimes it feels like it. But that's literally, what we have to think about. So you can't just see this and be like, oh, they countered it. So then they didn't counter this one. So that means it's true. Not necessarily. So I just want to make sure I address that, because I know people automatically make that assumption, and we don't want to put you in the wrong direction with doing your own discernment. Nick sort of puts, breaking, heavily armed U.S. Capitol police officers are racing to a reported shooting in the vicinity of a high-ranking U.S. official in Washington, D.C.'s Navy Yard. The black SUV seen in the video is armored Chevrolet Suburban used by leaders of Congress and members of President's cabinet. It is unclear if this was a targeted attack, but the alleged shooter is not in custody, and police are searching the area. I personally witnessed the official being extracted via undercover Capitol police officers protected by uniform officers carrying long rifles. I will not name the official without their express permission, as I don't want to dox their home. Other officers can be seen sweeping the area for evidence like shell casings. We'll update. I'll have more details. This was on the 16th, the evening of the 16th of this month. I continue to go look for updates. They have not identified who that government official was yet. And some media, there's the suspect is still outstanding. The description, I believe it was a black male is what went out, but not a whole lot of details there. And local media is trying to say that there was one shot fired, there's no one that's hurt, and they don't want to deem whether it's intentional or not. And then again, you have Nick Sorter, who was there and witnessed the extraction. And, it implies that maybe it did seem like it could have been targeted. We don't know. But nonetheless, this is something just to consider. There's a whole lot going down in D.C., especially if that indeed was an attempted assassination. Never Better puts, I had no idea she was a Chinese spy. And who are we paying attention to here? Well, in that picture, you will see that's Mr. Ro Khanna. And that would be Christine Fang. Y'all know Fang Fang. So just remember when you see Ro Khanna and his homie, Thomas Massey, but just remember this specifically when Ro Khanna's out there and he's talking and he's trashing on, and I see someone saying, are we waiting on Alpha? So hopefully if I can get give me some 5x5s, folks. I just want to make sure the feed wasn't lost. When I see people put posts like that, I'm like, did the feed get lost or what's going on? So if I can see some 5x5s, that'll definitely make me feel better. Maybe Gfontes just forgot to refresh their screen. Let me see. Okay, 5x5s are coming in. All right, Gfontes, you made my heart stop, man. We do it live. But again, just remember, you have Eric Swalwell has this relationship with the Chinese spy, Fang Fang. And all of a sudden you see, Ro Khanna amongst others also in this picture with Fang Fang, Chinese spy. Does it insinuate anything? We don't know. It's speculation. But, not everybody gets to get that close and do pictures like that. So I'll leave it up to your own interpretation. But I have a feeling we might hear from Fang Fang again. And they might be dropping dimes. I'll just say. All right, let's see. Okay, so we're good. Let me see what YouTube's saying over here. And everybody's good. All right, so we're all good. TVs and phones. All right, all right, Gfontes, you're in trouble. You derailed us for a minute. Then we get to Ames, breaking trial locked down after threats of doxing and swatting. This is important. Remember, this is a deep state contingency, and I'll explain. Judge Roach just stepped in and said enough is enough. The trial for Carmelo Anthony, the teen accused of fatally stabbing Austin Metcalf, is now under strict security and media restrictions after months of chaos surrounding the case. We're talking heavy courtroom security, no free-for-all media circus, no live broadcasting inside, extra protection for the jurors, the witnesses, and the families. And here's the part people aren't talking about enough. The case hasn't just been fought in court, it's been fought online with people being doxxed, threatened, and even swatted. Did they think that doxing, swatting, and threatening would work in their favor? Everybody knows Carmelo is guilty. That's exactly why the judge stepped in. This trial is set for June 1st of 2026. And you have Sarah Fields that's reporting on that. Here's what I want to bring to your guys' attention. This was something I was talking about a lot when it went down, and I've mentioned it from time to time, just 'cause I don't want us to forget about it. There are different things and tactics that the deep state is going to use when they get to that, when they start running out of room to escape, and you corner them. I'm telling you folks, they're never going to throw up their hands and surrender. Not going to happen. They're going to fight to the very end, and they have different plays, and we've all experienced them. I'm not going to say anything that you're not going to have experienced before, but they have different playbooks. Sometimes it is political divides that they use to create tension and riots. Sometimes it is religious. We've seen that, especially through October 7th, and we've still been fighting through that. And the one that they've probably used more than anything is the racial, typically black versus white. And I said back in this case, I go, watch the delays on this case and watch how it gets pushed. And when they finally go and start to have this case, it's going to be around the time that they're probably going to get ready to deploy some type of riots to create, tension, chaos, something to impact this administration, or maybe even voting, or whatever the case may be. So again, June 1st is when it's slated to start. I'd be very interested to see if that gets pushed back even a little bit more. Is it going to try to interfere with July 4th, or does it even get pushed farther back to create more racial ties as we get closer to the midterms? Just something to keep on your radar. And then the last for our news, and then we'll get into the themes of tonight. House Judiciary GOP new report. ActBlue employees take the fifth when asked about foreign fraud and whistleblower retaliation at the Democratic donation platform. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let me just fly through a couple of these. House Judiciary GOP and GOP oversight and House admin have been investigating fraud on ActBlue and the potential for foreign interference in our elections. Last year, we found ActBlue, the left's leading online fundraising platform, weakened its fraud prevention standards ahead of the 2024 election, even as the company knew about significant attempted fraud on the platform. New reporting has confirmed our findings. ActBlue's illegal foreign donations in mass. ActBlue tried to cover this up by misleading and withholding documents from Congress, but it didn't work. Folks, if you're not following my brother Sean Taylor, he is, I would say he was at the forefront of this, the tip of the spear. And support that man and make sure you're following him on his socials, or search these social media platforms, whether it's YouTube or whatever the case may be. Going in there and put in Sean's, and his name's SHAWN Taylor, and you will find the shows that he's doing. And we'll bring him on here to do an update. But you're gonna see how the cartels played into all this stuff. You're gonna see some fraud coming out of Maricopa County and other places. And ActBlue is not just gonna be ActBlue. That's gonna get with everybody's attention, but you're gonna see that Republicans ain't gonna have very clean hands on this either. So let's get into the next thing. The scientist, right? Let me get this lined up so we can listen to, because I actually have this for you guys. Josh puts out, I want to know who is the doctor, and he's referring to Ashton Forbes. Holy crap, they're just now releasing McCaslin's wife's 911 call, and she knew immediately that he ran. He always has his phone on him, and he left it and turned it off, changed his clothes before he left. Listen to this phone call, folks.
This is April. How may I help you?
Hi, April. My name is Susan Wilkerson. My husband is missing.
Okay.
And it's been about 3 hours, and I have some indication that he must have planned not to be found. He's left his phone. He changed his clothes into I don't know what. I think he's on foot. All of our cars and bicycles are in the garage. I left for a doctor's appointment at about 11:10, And he was here at that time at the house. And I got back from that at noon, and he was gone. He turned it off and left it behind, which seems kind of deliberate because he's always got his phone. He has a smartwatch. I don't know if that's with him or not.
Has he ever done this before?
Never. Nothing even remotely like it. He's a retired Air Force Major General. He's very responsible, but he's also facing some medical issues.
Do you have any video at your home?
No.
Has he been diagnosed with any mental disorders or anything like that?
Well, we've been seeing a doc for both physical and mental in terms of anxiety, short-term memory loss, lack of sleep. The same doc I went to see today.
Does he carry any weapons on him?
Well, not generally. He does have a gun safe, and I went to look in the gun safe to see if anything was missing, but I couldn't tell if anything was. He has quite a number of pistols and rifles. Other than saying if his brain and body keep deteriorating, he didn't want to live like that. But it seemed to me that was just a, man, I hate how this is going kind of thing, because I told him, yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Okay. We're going to send some deputies up to talk to you, see if we can search a little bit and see what's going on, okay?
Sure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So remember, this is the beginning of the month when this kicked off. I believe it was the second. It was the beginning of the month, maybe even the third. And we're going to kind of go through this because it's interesting, and this will this will lean into tomorrow night's conversation that you guys will watch on DEFCON. But before we do that, let me run a Rumble ad right here because it populated. I want to get to this one before it disappears, and it's there. Let me go full screen with me just to make it easier when you guys scan that QR code, because this is Rumble Wallet, and we love the Rumble Wallet. They can cancel your accounts, freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middleman, no cancel button. And when you want to support creators you actually believe in, like this guy, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference. This isn't a credit line that they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently. Yours to protect your future, yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics. It's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom. And again, if you're like, if I don't see a QR code on my screen, it's because you're not watching on Rumble. Got to get over here and watch it. And again, if you're watching the replay, you also see that link down in the description. So let's continue on with these docs and get to the next one. We got some audios, quite a few video and audio on tonight's show, just to give you guys a heads up. UAP James puts, Representative Tim Burchett says his sources have identified missing retired U.S. Air Force General Neil McCaslin as the UFO gatekeeper. This is a very small fraternity. When something happens to one, the others take note. I was briefed this past week. That group is very nervous. Shout out to Lady Ploman, who just gifted a subscription over here on the AlphaWarrior Show. Thank you. I appreciate that. And let's take a listen to this audio. Trust me, folks, this part of the show tonight that we're doing this segment is going to be very important to tomorrow night's show on DEFCON.
What happened with this two-star general?
He's the guy that was had a lot of nuclear secrets and was allegedly the gatekeeper. And I've been told by several sources that he was the gatekeeper for the UFO stuff. And of course, his family says, he didn't have anything to do with UFO. But these people are people of honor.
Well, they didn't want to die either.
Yeah, and they don't tell their family. So their family isn't a target.
And Congressman, I understand there's others too, right? I was seeing that there's like a whole bunch of scientists that are also tied to some top secret stuff.
Yes, ma'am. The lady that disappeared, she had a lot to do with the metallurgy, the top secret metallurgy that we use in some of our missiles and stuff. I mean, it all just kind of fits together. And it's a very small fraternity. And when anytime one of them, something happens to one, the others are take note of it. And I was briefed this past week, and I'll just say that that group is very nervous. They are very nervous about what's going on.
UFOs, aliens, generals, doctors, and scientists missing or murdered. And just remember, this is all on the heels. I don't want to get ahead of this section because I have it lined up a certain way. This is on the heels of Trump saying we're going into a time of disclosure. Let's keep going. Matt Gaetz reveals he was briefed by the U.S. Army about a secret hybrid breeding program in which captured aliens were breeding with humans to create a hybrid race. He says he was told this was a secret military program involving aliens breeding with humans who were kidnapped from war zones. The purpose of the project was to engage in intergalactic communication. Take a listen to this for yourself because tones matter with voices.
I mean, I had someone come and brief me who was in a military uniform, worked for the United States Army, that was briefing me on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans to create some hybrid race that could engage in intergalactic communication. An actual uniformed member of the United States Army briefed me on that.
Non-human biologics, interracial alien mating? What the F is going on? Look, wait a second. You had whistleblowers tell you this kind of thing? Can you please unpack that?
Yeah, I had a guy who was uniformed. He was a senior enlisted with the United States Army. Came into my office in Crestview, Florida, in a non-classified setting. I had members of my staff there, and what they explained is that the military ran a very secret program where aliens that were living were in forced breeding programs with humans that had been abducted from war zones and from even the caravans of migrants. Now, again, I didn't verify this, but what the whistleblower was telling me is that there were like between 6 and 12 locations around the country where this happened. And what he wanted was a group, members of Congress, to all show up at the same time at all of these different locations so that any of those activities could not be moved. And of course, it's a physical impossibility to get members of Congress to simultaneously show up at like 8 locations at one time. And so that never occurred.
So again, just full transparency, he did say he wasn't able to vet it. And when you do watch the entire broadcast of that interview, he doesn't necessarily says he believes it. He's just reporting what happened. So keep that in consideration. But nonetheless, if you were watching Q After Hours last night, you know, we had a very long conversation surrounding, you know, genetics and DNA that was tied to Epstein. And you want to watch tomorrow's show. God. It was a lot of fun today, folks. I don't know if fun's the correct word, but it was definitely an interesting day today. Let's keep going. Astral puts out They're Real. What's he talking about? Let's take a listen to this.
And I had a high-ranking, and he's a former member of the Navy. The last thing he told me before he went out that door was, Tim, they're real. And he described a situation under the water that they sonared an object about as big as a football field that was doing close to 200 miles an hour. And there's no fish that's big as a football field, and there sure as hell isn't anything that can do 200 miles an hour. Might get close to 40 miles an hour, and no heat signature as well. You know, we got areas of the sightings that you see a higher report of the propensity of sightings around these deep water areas, and there's 4 or 5 of those in the ocean We know more about the surface of the moon than we do these areas. And when you're talking several miles down, we don't have the capabilities of anyway even getting all those areas. And so
200 miles per hour. We don't have the disclosed tech that does that. And I'm just going to fire through these videos. Some of the video clips he's going to repeat some information that he's had from prior interviews, but it's still important. And I want you guys to all be caught up on this. And I have a rhyme and a reason for it. UAP Reporting Center. This is the one with Burchett and Tucker, regardless of whether we're Team Tucker or not. Capturing this conversation is important, so we're going to listen.
High-ranking member of the Navy described some underwater experiences they'd had with something that was doing 200 miles. And the best thing we got is probably 40. It
was doing 200 miles an hour underwater.
Underwater, big as a football field, and that's no fish.
So is it possible, given our current understanding of physics, for any man-made machine to go anywhere near 200 miles an hour underwater?
Not with our technology, no. The best we have is probably in the high 30s. And he was converting it. Of course, knots is what the Navy guys would do, but there's nothing.
If I fire a 30-06 or any high-caliber rifle underwater, it doesn't go 200 miles an hour. I can probably catch it in the length of a swimming pool or so.
Yeah, or it just falls down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like,
so we've got, and this was described to me in areas, and I was quoted on some. I was just all I do is quote people that have knowledge. But this was one that was he was talking about. There are 5 or 6, I think, deep water areas of the ocean. You've traveled a lot. I have not. There's not a lot of deep water areas around East Tennessee at Fort Loudon Lake or anything, but they're talking miles deep. And of course, you've heard this before. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do the surface of the ocean. And he said these are areas where we see a high propensity of these UFOs.
Is our fleet, Navy fleet, when it was down, near the Caribbean and north of South America, were they there just for Venezuela and Central America and South America? Or were there things in that area that we're looking for? Are there things out in the Middle East, Persian Gulf area? I don't know, folks, but you best bet that 200 miles per hour and the size that he's describing, I don't think AI would need a ship that big. Like, if you guys are tracking, well, I'll just come out and say it. Like, stop being around the bush, Alpha. You don't need a large ship unless you're either housing deployable equipment or entities. If it's something that's strictly surveillance and intelligence gathering, it's going to be small. If you're looking at something that large, it's probably because it has some type of life forms on it, a significant amount of life forms, or vehicles to deploy. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Something to think about. Kosher puts out spooky UFO. Rep Tim warns of possible misdirection when asked about the story of alleged alien hybrid breeding program. Let's take a listen to this one.
Your former colleague, Matt Gaetz, came out and he said that there is a human extraterrestrial hybrid breeding program in the guy. And I said, you know what? Look, I've gotten along great with Matt Gaetz over the years, but this is completely bonkers. I don't buy it. I don't believe in aliens. No way, no how. But then you've been making the rounds saying some of these claims are not as crazy as they might appear.
That's true. Matt was actually briefed by a member of our military in uniform on that subject. But I've heard a lot of wild things. I've been briefed by a lot of high-ranking officials. And the thing I want to warn people about is there's a word called PSYOP, or 2 words, I guess. And these agencies
a lot of them are just chasing dollars, and they would laugh at me when I would talk to them about UFOs or UAPs, which is a complete distraction. I just go UFOs. And now they've seen that the polling of the population of this great country believes that we are not alone and there is something extra out there. And so now they see dollars. And so now all of a sudden, a lot of these alphabet agencies are putting stuff out. I would warn people, if you don't see it with your own dadgum eyes, don't believe it. I just think that there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And the only dadgum person that's going to be able to put this out is Donald J. Trump. And he has to, because you're not going to get you're not going to get these bureaucrats that are know-it-alls, and everybody's, and there's a economic component to it. And there's also an arrogance component.
So it's only the president really who could get this done. Two last questions before I let you go. One, do you think that we will have disclosure of whatever information we have regarding the UFOs?
No, we will not have disclosure. I don't think so. I just don't. I think it's too deep, and I think it's too strong. And they're going to claim military intelligence. You know, it weakens our military, which is what the Schumer bill did. And so, anyway, heck no, we're not going to ever get it. They don't want it out, and I don't think I'll have it on this side of eternity. Maybe my daughter's generation will hear something, but I just don't. I'm going to keep busting their ass on it, though. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm a flagrant fence swinger, dude. I swing for the fence every dadgum time.
Dadgummit. I love the way he deploys that. But listen, do you guys think that we are going to find out about what's going on? So remember, how did we get into remember, this is regarding the scientists. So this next clip is going to kind of bring it full circle. So when you understand where we're going, and so this picture makes sense and we're not just watching videos. Fox and Friends says investigation underway. FBI probes up to 11 missing or dead scientists with access to critical U.S. military and scientific secrets. There's an investigation going on behind the scenes, and it makes sense. These were literal 10-pound brains. Now, remember, folks, nobody has said that these missing scientists or the dead ones are connected to any of this UFO and disclosure stuff that's coming down. No one's formally come out and said that. But as you listen to this clip right here, and it's a short one, it's about a minute, just think about everything that you've heard from Rep. Tim Burchett. And tell me you don't think that this stuff might be all related.
The fact that the president went on the record and said we should have an answer here in a week or so indicates to me, and when you add to the fact that the FBI issued a terse no comment, that there is an investigation going on behind the scenes, and it makes sense. And why is that? Well, look, we do have these links here. And if I was the FBI director right now, and I'm sure Director Patel is doing this, I am going after what's called link analysis. I'm looking at relationships between people, organizations, and digital objects like cell phones and social media, things like that. We now have 11, and there could be more coming forth. And what ties them together? Well, they either worked at NASA, they worked at Los Alamos, they were working on anti-gravity, AI-generated work, they were doing things in the aerospace engineering and nuclear physicist realms. These were literal 10-pound brains. Griff, they're programming the space shuttle for fun. They're splitting atoms in their spare time. There definitely appears to be a link here, and I guarantee you the FBI and law enforcement is looking into it now.
Listen, I think there's absolutely a connection that's going on here. Now, are the missing ones, are they people that were kidnapped? Are they pulled into witness protection? Are they out there just trying to do self-preservation? Don't know. I hope the good guys have their hands on them, because we know the bad guys are definitely looking for them. And we know that there's a race for the superiority in this technology. We also know, and then this comes through a lot of frustration of us and in our community and Americans and just humanity in general, is we just want to know everything. But you also have to understand that wanting to know everything, and maybe even ethically having the right to know, doesn't necessarily mean that learning everything at once is the smartest or safest way for these things to unfold. You got to remember, the president's job is the preservation of the republic, the preservation of life, and the preservation of property in the land. And this stuff has to be unraveled. The thread has to be, pulled on at a pace that doesn't lead to chaos, anarchy, and what the deep state wants. And so this is why who knows, are there corporations at battle here, nation states actors that are taking out these scientists and doctors because they're competitors? I don't know, but there's definitely something going on. So let's take a listen to what Trump says here.
10 missing scientists with access to classified stuff, nuclear material, aerospace. They've all gone missing or turned up dead in the last couple months. Based on what you've been briefed, what do you think is happening here? And do you think that this is connected or totally random?
Well, I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half. I just left a meeting on that subject, so pretty serious stuff. But we're going to be hopefully, I don't know, coincidence, if you whatever you want to call it. But some of them were very important people, and we're going to look at it over the next short period.
So again, folks, and obviously Trump probably knows a lot more than he's ever going to say, and that's understandable. But he, didn't say in a week, didn't say in a couple of days, week and a half. And the date of this was the 16th, just to give everybody a ballpark of what we're looking at when this, more information starts to surface, at least maybe from the administration or Trump. That would put us, right close towards the end of this month. And why does it all kind of seem to be connected? Well, you have this rapid response, and this is from the 17th. Okay. I recently directed Secretary of War to begin releasing government files relating to UFOs and unexplained aerial phenomenon. I am pleased to report this process is well under the way, and we found many very interesting documents, and the first releases will begin very, very soon. Now, has Trump been able to secure some of these scientists? And is some of the information that he's going to talk about, or these document releases, going to be based off the information they're sharing with them? I don't know. These are just questions that I'm putting out there and to see what you guys think. But there's something going on. And I know over the last couple of years, a lot of us looked at this as, if they do the UFO thing or they do the alien thing, is this the manipulation? Is this the psychological operation of Looking Glass? Is it Project Blue Beam? And very well may be the case. I'm not discounting ththose things as possibilities, but on the other side is some of the people that we at least see as good guys right now, whether it be Rep, Tim Burchett, President Trump, and others. They're, you had David Grush when he testified before the committee, non-human biologics, all this stuff being here. There's a there. There's something, folks. And if you watched the show last night with me and Josh, you kind of know where my mind's been at lately. and just so people don't take things out of context, I absolutely believe in God, my creator. But I also know that the entire system has been lying to us since the moment of birth. And so there's definitely more that's going on, whether it's above us, below us, or amongst us. Watch the show tomorrow night. This part of the show is very relevant to that. And again, this part of the show is the setup. It's the warm-up to what you guys will be watching tomorrow night on DEFCON, which was recorded earlier today. So now let's get into the next one, which is going to be Charlie Kirk and the bullet. Fox News puts defense attorneys for accused Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson argue a firearms analysis raises doubts about the alleged murder weapon and could be exculpatory, but experts say the claim doesn't hold up. Although an ATF analysis couldn't match the bullet to the rifle allegedly tied to Robinson, sources tell Fox News that when the bullet struck Kirk's body, it hit bone and broke on impact, making it impossible to do ballistics analysis on it. Furthermore, testing it did positively confirm that the spent shell casing found at the scene matched the suspected murder weapon. Unable to identify is not the same as ruled out, says retired FBI supervisor Agent Jason Pack. That's a finding of inconclusiveness not exoneration. Why is this important? Is, again, the Candace Owens simps, amongst all these other clowns that we see on social media. And I'm batting 100 on this, including what we're going to get into here momentarily. But people are coming out, including some of my friends. The ATF analysis says that's not the bullet. That wasn't the gun. The first thing I came out and said, one, it's from the defense. So the defense is always going to present a document that's going to be in favor of their client. Doesn't mean that they're going to lie, but they're definitely going to play word magic and do word games. I go, and two, they're not giving you the entire analysis, which that right out of the gate told me what exactly it was. Because had it said, because I've reviewed these reports when we've done murder investigations, had it said that, yes, it did a test, and yes, it ruled out this weapon, and it wasn't something that was inconclusive, it was something that was ruled out, they would have put in the entire, all the sentences, the entire page, they would have put the PDF format of it scanned on it, all that would have been there. So when that was absent, I said what they're doing right now is they know that this is going to get leaked out or shown to the public, and this is to influence the court of public opinion, which is what this entire operation's been from the beginning. Because if you can influence enough people, you can always have the defense saying we don't have a fair jury in this area. So I knew right out of the gate that this was going to be something that, no, it's not that it's not a definitive match, it's inconclusive. And again, and I still hold this argument to the day, and I guarantee someone in the chat's going to get mad. Yeah, it's not the case. Nobody has seen the autopsy report. And again, when you look at the impact and what happened to his shirt, I'm telling you guys, and you guys that watched the Charlie Kirk video breakdown and debriefs that I did, I showed you videos of 30-06 hitting a plate carrier in the same area and how it would react and how the weapon or how the bullet will behave. Told you multiple videos of that. And it's exactly near perfection of, unfortunately, I don't mean in a good way, but perfection as far as the way things reacted to what we saw Charlie Kirk. And I'm telling you, we're going to find out that he had a front plate carrier, that round hit there, fragmented. That fragment is what created that abnormally large hole, because a bullet hole is not going to be that big on an entrance wound from a 30-06 or anything else that's smaller than that. And that's why that wound looked the way it did. And that fragment is what hit his neck, which is why it didn't go in and break it the way everybody thought it would have done. And then that fragment that was in his neck is exactly what this is describing now. You're going to see that that's what's going to play out. I'm saying, I haven't been wrong just yet, but let's keep going. Candace Owens comes out and says, stop. This is exhausting. You pulled out because of bad ticket sales. For the same reason, TPA Faith had to reschedule the Pastures Summit and various other events quietly. People don't believe you. They don't line up for you because you struggle to tell the truth about even the most basic facts. Where is the video of Charlie appointing you as CEO weeks before his death? The Secret Service sits above your security team. Were there actually a viable threat, the vice president would have not continued the event. Your closest threat is the shit public relations team you hired that continues to operate under the delusion that they are smarter than the public, and they aren't. And this is regarding Erica Kirk's post on the 14th, which says, I was looking forward to tonight's event at the University of Georgia with our vice president, JD Vance, that after all our family has been through, I take my security team's recommendations extremely seriously. Thank you to our amazing Georgia chapter for your support. God bless. So right out of the gate, I started getting everybody blowing up my phone and messages saying, this is not the case. Why would it? One is, I love how everybody that says that this is not the case has zero experience in dignitary protection, zero experience in VIP protection, zero experience in running operations, zero experience in either military or law enforcement that operate in that capacity, zero experience in all these things, yet they come out and say, this is absolutely false. It's like, no, you're retarded. And if you're some of my friends, unfortunately, then yes, you're retarded. Still love you, but you're retarded. So the people that are reaching out to me, I said, one is when you have, we'll use, I'm Southern California, you have Stagecoach and Coachella Fest. You can have a threat to a specific artist. And that artist, their security team, will determine whether they're going to continue to the event or they're going to cancel. And if that security team and that artist makes the decision that they're going to cancel, you don't cancel the entire Coachella Fest or Stagecoach, because it wasn't the event that was being threatened. It was the person. That's the way that does. Now, if the person decides to continue to go, the event's probably going to up security and it's going to change some things. And the other artists that are in the vicinity are probably going to up their security. And that becomes a cost thing that maybe will influence that decision for the artist to either go or not go. But that same concept applies here. The other thing that I told people is it doesn't mean that the threat was at the event. As a matter of fact, I said, from someone who does operational planning and someone who's done these VIP and dignitary protections, what this tells me is that the threat is probably in the travel to or the travel away from the event. Because if you are the bad guy, the last thing you're going to do is try to deploy your operation, your plan, at the time when there's the most security is present, including the Secret Service for the vice president. And I said, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see that this threat, and it's on my posts, it's on videos that I did within the first 60 minutes, I came out and said that this is the case. Again, because consistency and accuracy matters. So let's keep going because it'll make sense why I just went on that little rant. JT says, porn star Carrie Brajan Bowler just deleted her post mocking Erica Kirk after receiving death threats. Don't worry, Carrie, the internet is forever. Now the world sees forever what a nasty person and fake Catholic you are. She puts, after all your family has been through, you mean after your husband was assassinated in front of the world? This is so weird. Like, listen, straight, yeah, you know what I'm saying, right? Rhymes with itch. Let's see. Pure Healer 686 in the Rumble chat says, stop eating crayons, Alpha. You're losing credibility daily. Well, point one thing where I've been wrong. Challenge you. Name one thing with regards to Charlie Kirk in this situation where I've been wrong. So, and frame boys, yep, you got it. That's definitely the correct word. Raptor Talon, you missed, but you were close. But again, this is how vile these people are. To say things like this woman, it's folks, her husband was assassinated live on TV and people's phones. She's receiving threats. So she pulls out of committing to the event. If you have an issue with that, it's because you have fallen for the propaganda that's been weaponized against her in TPUSA. That's just the facts. Because there's no facts to defend the other argument. They keep saying facts are coming, but they've never come. Two, let's just get into it. I don't want to get too far off the course here. Jane Doe, says, what a misleading headline. There were no known threats to the protectee. Protectee was Vance, not Erica. And she's referring to the article here from the CBS Atlanta. Secret Service determines no credible threats to UGA rally after Erica Kirk's cancellation, source says. And the part highlighted here, there were no known threats to the protectee. Kirk may have received hostile or threatening messages, including on social media. Those were not part of the identified or actionable threat stream monitored by federal authorities. So again, you'll get the simps, right? Some of them are in the chat that'll come and lock on to that sentence and be like, see, she was lying. And again, it's just, you're retarded. Let's keep going and you're going to find out why all this matters. Andrew Colvette comes out and says, this is absolute garbage headline from CBS, which didn't even bother to reach out to us for comment. Now I'm going to read the whole thing, but number 2 is the part that's important. Number 1, of course, there was no issue with the venue. If there was, we would have canceled the entire event. The venue was deemed secure, and we trusted the Secret Service to protect the VP and secure the perimeter, but protecting Erica is not the Secret Service's job. That's what our security is responsible for. Agree. Number 2, the threats were related to Erica's travel, not the venue. There are lunatics following her around constantly. This was posted on the 16th. And again, this is after I had already told everybody that this is exactly what it's about. And again, I'm not a fortune teller. This is just when you have worked in this environment, you know exactly how these things, they fold out. It doesn't matter how big the name is or how small the name is. The playbook's just the same. The only thing that changes is the cost and the resources. But again, this is another thing from the Candace Simps that got debunked again. But let's keep going. Let's do some more exposing and debunking here. And then I'll give you my speculation of what Candace and the Simps are actually trying to do. Candace Owens' cult is in full damage control mode right now. Yesterday, Tyler Robinson's hearing destroyed a lot of their fake theories. Now they're trying to walk things back. They're saying that Candace never said that Tyler Robinson never stepped foot on UVU campus. I know some of you are laughing your asses off already. And they're saying that they never parroted the same thing. I got bad news for them. Unlike Candace Owens, I actually brought the receipts, and they're longer than the ones you get at CVS. Enjoy this one, folks.
In fact, according to my source, Tyler has never even stepped foot on UVU campus.
Candace Owens has dropped a bombshell on her show today. According to an inside source, Tyler Robinson has never stepped foot on UVU campus.
According to my source, Tyler has never even stepped foot on UVU campus.
Not only has this inside source confirmed that Tyler Robinson was not on UVU campus when Charlie Kirk was assassinated.
All right, so we got a big story that I want to break here, some alpha that just dropped by Candace Owens. Bryson Gray just put out this tweet. Check this out. Bryson Gray puts out a tweet that says, Candace Owens said that Tyler Robinson never stepped foot on UVU campus and that his parents never turned him in. She also said that the FBI lied about his parents noticing him. Check out these tweets from Candace. Tyler Robinson is not suicidal. The entire narrative that was placed in the media about him having been suicidal is completely fiction, as are the other aspects of what we've been told. His father having turned him in after his confession is also complete fiction. To the contrary, Tyler Robinson maintains his innocence and has never been to UVU campus. There is absolutely zero photos or videos that the campus can produce to the contrary, which is why they have produced nothing other than blurry images which Tyler's family knows it's not him. Tyler has never once expressed a suicidal thought. I want to make that clear. The federal government is lying about absolutely everything other than the fact that is his gun. I mean, this is pretty fucking huge. Check this out. She said, not that we need further substantiation, but Tyler Robinson did not author those Discord messages. I would like to again stress that he has never been to the UVU campus, but I also need to confirm this later. I believe that he was around the area that day. I will have more on this later, but I wanted to immediately publish the fact that Tyler Robinson's suicide narrative, plus that his dad did the right thing after realizing his son was guilty, is a federal concoction.
Candace Owens has officially come out and straight up said that Tyler Robinson has never stepped foot on the Utah Valley University campus. In other words, he didn't shoot Charlie. Check out what she put on her story. I want to break this news immediately because it feels important, and I think if I don't break it immediately, something bad might happen. I hope I have earned the trust enough of the people to believe me when I say that I have verified this information but cannot reveal the source. Tyler Robinson is not suicidal. The entire narrative that was placed in the media about him having been suicidal is completely fictional, as are many other aspects of what we have been told. His father having turned him in after a confession is also complete fiction. To the contrary, Tyler Robinson maintains his innocence and has never even been to the UVU campus. There are absolutely zero photos or videos that the campus can produce to the contrary, which is why they have produced nothing other than a blurry image which Tyler's family knows is not him. Tyler has never once expressed a suicidal thought. I want to make that clear. The federal government is lying about absolutely everything other than the fact that it is his gun. Not that we needed further substantiation, but Tyler Robinson did not author those Discord messages. I would like again to stress that he has never been to UVU campus, but, and I need to confirm this later, I believe it was around the campus. He was around the campus that day. I'll have more on this later, but I wanted to immediately publish that the Tyler Robinson suicide narrative plus the dad did the right thing after realizing his son was guilty is a federal concoction. So Candace is saying she has a valid source that told her that Tyler was never and has never been on the UVU campus. In other words, saying that ain't him. Interesting thing is too, this is supposed to be video surveillance, so why have they never released this video? Also, when it comes to the text messages, why didn't they release timestamps with the text messages? Also, with different people who recorded the guy running on the roof, The cops never looked into seeing who recorded that video. Candace Owens found them. Even when it comes to Tyler Robinson's boyfriend, Lance Twiggs, they showed us this little fluffy fellow. This is the same guy who Candace talked to his family, and his family said that he was crazy. So why did the cops show us this photo when this is also Lance Twiggs? You see how they can try to make you believe a narrative that they want you to believe? The only problem with this situation was they weren't expecting Charlie to have a best friend named Candace Owens that was going to continue to investigate and investigate and investigate, even when Charlie's own pastor told her to be quiet. My question is this: who really is involved? Who all really is involved? Because things aren't lining up. And ladies and gentlemen, if it quacks like a duck, it might just be a duck.
How dare they call anything that we are covering a conspiracy theory? The conspiracy theory, I tell you what it is right now. I don't want you guys to be conspiracy theorists. The conspiracy theory is that Tyler Robinson, who did not attend UVU, had never been on UVU campus.
Receipts are receipts, folks. You may not like it, but we keep on bringing them. Let's get into the next one. Candace knew the bullet was so fragmented because her source told her back in September. Well, first, before we get into this one, let's address the last one. For these poor people, and some of these people I like, Ryan Matt has turned into a piece of shit, and that's why he's lying. He's trying to subvert this president, and he hates America, along with Candace and others. But when people say, why don't they just release the surveillance video? I know I probably use the word retard too much, but are you guys retarded? There's a trial going on. Your public opinion of that trial does not supersede a fair trial. It is evidence, retards. Like, that's what it is. It's evidence, retards. Why don't they go and show us the CCTV video of him on the campus? It's evidence, retards. When do you guys think that as the public, you have a right to see the evidence of a murder case during the process of a trial? Like, some of you just lost your ever-loving mind, dadgummit, to quote a representative that I really like. It's evidence. You want to see the evidence in real time? And go join law enforcement or go and join the prosecution or judicial side of this. Outside of that, you wait. Retards. All right, but let's get into some more of the Candace and Sims retards. Candace, again, knew that the bullet was so fragmented because her source told her back in September. What?
Now, regarding the bullet, the source says that it was too fragmented to match Tyler's rifle.
So now it's a conspiracy when ATF and the trial says that the bullet's too fragmented. But you heard it with Candace's own words back in September of 2025, 2.5 weeks after all this went down, right about. Her source then told her that it was fragmented. The fact that this woman has lied to so many you simps over and over and over and over, and you still fight and defend her, tells me why this administration has to run these operations and narrative control the way they do. Because some of you think you're awake and you think you're red-pilled, but some of you have just lost your damn mind. Let's keep going. This gets funner. TMZ puts out Charlie Kirk's bullet evidence matches the gun in alleged killer Tyler Robinson's case. I'm not going to go through the case in the interest of time. I'll drop the link right there in the chat for you guys that want to see it. But essentially, it's everything that we've kind of been talking about, and it goes through and explains it. So again, at the end of the show, I'll pin this link to the comment for those of you that want to read it. Bringing it back to Cinema Shogun, he's done some great work with regards to the Candace case. Explosive. Candace Owens just got caught in a massive lie that changes everything. Candace has reported to her coat for months that Tyler Robinson never stepped foot on the UVU campus. She claimed to have high-level top-secret sources who could confirm. Well, guess what? She lied. UVU has security footage of Tyler arriving on the campus in his vehicle before the incident. UVU also has security footage of Tyler walking around the campus, scouting it out. They even say that they have good facial images of him and everything. When Candace's fans ask what she's lied about or claim she's never been debunked, show them the clip of this video right here.
So let me give you a proffer of what the evidence will be at the preliminary hearing. There's really 4 categories of evidence. The first is surveillance from UVU. Now, UVU has a great surveillance system, and they captured the defendant coming on to campus at about 7 a.m., or I think about 8 a.m. Okay, it's clearly him. He's driving his gray Dodge Charger. I should say he's from St. George, so this isn't just a casual passing by Utah Valley University. This is a 3.5-hour drive from his home, 250 plus miles from his home. They captured his car pulling into the Utah Valley University parking structure. He gets out of the car. He's wearing his favorite Hurley hat, a maroon T-shirt, shorts, and Converse shoes. The same clothing he's wearing when he turns himself in the next day. Clearly him. There's good facial images and everything.
In fact, according to my source, Tyler has never even stepped foot on UVU campus.
Sounds like she's got a shitty source. Say that. A seashell house by the seashore. It sounds like her source sucks, to put it lightly. And the last one on this one, and trust me, we got a subversion one at the end that we'll get into more trash talking on some of these clowns. But this is what's going to set up what I'm going to kind of articulate to you guys. I think what they are really trying to do. Sarah Adams puts, people should hear how utterly foolish this sounds in a courtroom in front of a judge. Social media isn't the real world, and it's not.
A lot of the what you refer to as negative publicity toward the prosecution, I think you list on page 2, was coming from podcast sources. Candace Owens, for instance, you list.
Correct. That's one that I had found.
And high political figure statements in your report, what does that mean?
That would be, for example, some of the information we just heard, high-profile political figures that can be national or local here.
Okay, Israel theories, what does that mean?
Correct. Theories such as Israel or Mossad was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
You saw a lot of that on the national media?
I did see some of that, yes.
And where did you see it, say, on ABC or CNN, where they were advocating that somehow Israel was...
No, I apologize. That was on social media.
Right. Most of the wackier theories are coming from
correct.
Fringe groups, right?
Correct. There are a lot of social media conspiracy theories out there.
And you were not making any attempt in your report here to compare how much weight someone would give to sort of a fringe report versus a national media report, correct?
No, I couldn't determine that.
Great. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bird. To the state?
Nothing further.
Thank you. May this witness be excused.
What they're trying to do, in my opinion, Candace and all these other clowns, is they are trying to taint the jury pool. They're trying to taint the trial. They want to see Tyler Robinson walk. Probably because they're part of the apparatus that did the MK Ultra to get him to do this to begin with. But what you're seeing, this social media war, misinformation, disinformation, psychological operation that's unfolding with regards to Charlie Kirk and the assassination at the hands of people like Ryan Mata and Candace Owens and others, they are trying to contaminate the trial so this kid walks. I'll tell you right now, if this kid, because we're not past the point to where if they say, hey, we'll do life imprisonment versus, and I don't know if they're going for the death penalty. Someone in the chat can let us know. I don't know if that was taken off the table or if it's still on there. But if they say, hey, because people say, well, he pleaded not guilty. Well, yeah, because he wants his plea to be, it's negotiation power. Of course he's going to plead not guilty. But if he comes out and ends up pleading guilty, you will still have the Candace Owens and Simp tribe come out and say, it still wasn't him. Even if he comes out and apologizes, they'll say it still wasn't him. That is the level of psychosis that cult has going on. Some of you are my friends. I love you, but you're retarded. Now let's get into Trump's plan, and then we'll get into the subversion conversation. But just to kind of break these up, so we shift gears for a little bit. And actually, let me let's pay the last bill of the night. Let me go big screen with me, and there we go. And let's get into neutronics, because this one is solid, and you guys know I'm fired up about it. And there it is up on the screen. So right out of the gate, the benefits: supports the immune system. You're gonna burn fat. You're gonna build muscle. You're gonna have the joint health. You're gonna improve your sleep. It's gonna combat the stress with the cortisol, and it's gonna boost your energy and your libido. So you're gonna get all those great things. Hands down, there's no argument around that. But here's the thing, and like I said, I've been taking a little over a week now, right about. As a matter of fact, the million nanogram one just came in yesterday. It was yesterday or the day before. My days are blending, but I'm fired up about it. But here's the thing with the IGF-1 plus is, one, no harm done to the animals. They get it from the antlers, and I believe it was Australia, New Zealand, whatever the case may be. But this stuff is fire, folks. When I was on a video conference call with John Oliver, one of the guys that we had on the show to talk about this, with the testosterone crisis that we have going on with the men in our country, and some of the stuff with you ladies as well. There's a lady version for this. It's, some people reported, a little bit of a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks. I noticed within less than 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I immediately noticed my vision, like the letters, everything looked like more crisp, more sharp. And again, I've been cleaning my body and trying to detoxify as much as possible, but still, it was a rapid thing. The other thing, you guys know, I go in the gym and I smash, right? I do, work on getting these bad boys as great as I can. But then afterwards, right, the recovery time was this boom, 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 like fast. I'm telling you guys, you have nothing to lose by trying this stuff. And again, ladies, they do have a version of it for you as well. If you guys know the boxing world, you have Jones Jr. that's gone behind this. The anti-aging stuff is good. I just trying to do my best to put the Maha stuff in front of you guys. This is definitely one of them. So when you have a chance, get out there and get yourself some and try it. Lock in those special deals too with that the link that's in the description. Now let's get back into the show. So let's make me little again, bring up this content, and let's get into Trump's plan. And let me just fix my screen over here too so I can see you guys. Okay, there we go. So RT comes out and posts, I have the best plan of all, but I'm not going to tell you what my plan is. Trump. They want me to say, here's my plan. We're going to attack at 9:47 in the morning. This is classic. This is Trump.
Simple. I saw somebody said, oh, he doesn't have a plan. I have the best plan of all, but I'm not going to tell you what my plan is. They want me to say, here's my plan. We're going to attack at 9:47 in the morning, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to, and if you don't do that, they say, I have a plan. These people know what the plan is. Everybody here knows what the plan is, but it's very unfair to say, because I don't mind being insulted. I've been insulted for many years by the fake news, but you can't. It's so bad for the people that are so you just saw two great, and John Ratcliffe, three unbelievable people. They have a plan. Every single thing has been thought out by all of us. But I can't reveal the plan to the media. So, but we're just.
You think he's just talking about Iran? You think he was just talking about Venezuela or maybe Cuba coming around the corner? You guys think he's talking about that, or you guys think he's talking about something else? Josh quote posts MJ Truth Ultra on this one. Oh, I have a plan. I have the best plan of all. Kind of overlapping on this, but it's short, so I still want to play it because it's just, I want you guys to at least entertain the perspective that I'm going to try to provide you.
We didn't do this for regime change. We did it for the fact, and my view was very simple. I saw somebody said, oh, he doesn't have a plan. I have the best plan of all, but I'm not going to tell you what my plan is. They want me to say, here's my plan. We're going to attack at 9:47 in the morning, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to, and if you don't do that, they say, I have a plan. These people know what the plan is. Everybody here knows what the plan is, but it's very unfair to say, because I don't mind being insulted. I've been insulted for many years by the fake news, but you can't. It's so bad for the people that are so you just saw two great, and John Ratcliffe, 3 unbelievable people. They have a plan. Every single thing has been thought out by all of us. But I can't reveal the plan to the media. So, but we're just thrilled by the success of this operation. Yeah.
He says, we've thought out everything. And folks, I think he's talking about our plan. Yes, he's referencing Iran. Yes, that's what everybody's there questioning about. But I think he's talking about our plan. And I think that he is trying to get us to recognize, Trump doesn't say shit by accident. And when he comes out and says, listen, Ratcliffe has a plan. Everybody has a plan. We've thought out everything. He's telling you folks, they have contingencies for everything that the deep state globalists are going to try. Let the man cook. I think it was Rapid 47 or the White House even put out a post. Was like, let the man cook. Like, they're even using our language to communicate with us because they know what we listen to. But Ronald Carter put this out. My apologies. And I thought this was great work. He goes, do you understand why Trump keeps extending the deadlines and people keep calling him weak? They said 48 hours, then 10 days, now 48 hours again. The media says that he blinked. Here's what they're not telling you. Between the first and second deadline, 7,000 troops deployed. Between the second deadline and now, 82nd Airborne was put on alert. USS George H.W. Bush Carrier Strike Group ordered to the Gulf. Ground-capable forces arrived at Orion's doorstep on March 30th. B-2 bombers struck the nuclear sites in Operation Midnight Hammer. EA-18G Growlers deployed. Those are electronic warfare planes. They blind Iran's radar. He wasn't extending. He was loading. Every day of talks was another day to move assets into position. The board is set. The pieces are placed. And in 48 hours, we will find out what glory be to God means from a man with 50,000 troops and 3 aircraft carriers at his back. God bless America. It's time. The thread I'm putting together on this is going to break timelines, follow to see it first. And again, I thought that was a great piece of work that he put there. And I just want to expand a little bit because I like what he puts and I agree with what he puts, but I want to expand a little bit more. Hopefully he'll include this in his thread. Is not only was he extending his ability to do these deployments and move the chess pieces around, it was also a time of observation and surveillance. He got to see what deep state actors are in charge and have command and control of assets in regards to that region of the world that are trying to either subvert him or subvert what's going on Iran's side. Again, a very important fact, and I bring this up as often as I can when we're talking about this Iran conflict, war, whatever you want to, title you want to adopt. President Trump, this administration has been taking out the IRGC and the military. They have not harmed the civilian government. These were the people that were meeting and negotiating with Witkoff and Kushner, and then now Vance as well. So obviously there is, 2 factions at play when we're looking at Iran. And so when Trump's extending these times, and like I said, this is me just supplementing what this gentleman wrote in this article. What he's also doing is it's surveillance and it's observation. He gets to see who's doing all this. And I see Braid Schiller says, no more psyops. I hear you. But look at all the people that fall for stuff like Candace Owens. The psyops are necessary, unfortunately, folks. I won't get into the moral, ethical argument of it. But one thing that I do agree with General Flynn on is this is unrestricted warfare. And the good guys are going to do psyops too. Whether you like it or you don't, they're going to do it. And I will agree with it is a necessity. Again, I'm not going to make the moral ethical argument, but I will say it is a necessity. Let's keep pushing forward. Rapid Response 47. This is, you saw how many people got up in arms over this post. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionary, wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. and people lost their minds. This is negotiation, folks. That's all that was negotiation. Listen, if you are someone who identifies as America First, MAGA, hardcore Trump supporter, and you thought that he was really going to go out there and glass the entire country, you lost your marbles. Like either you haven't been paying attention to my show or other shows. There was no way he was ever going to do that, ever. And here's another reason why. Because we still have, well, my speculation, we have special forces on the ground out there. So you're not going to nuke the damn area when our peeps are out there as well. Trump is a businessman. He is not the cookie cutter politician. This was 100% negotiations. And we said this at the time. When everybody lost their mind, we're like, it's negotiation. He's flexing on them. This is how Trump operates. And were we right about that? Well, let's keep reading. President Trump gives the perfect response to the outrage about his "a civilization will die tonight" posts. Let's take a listen to this.
However, now that we have a complete and total regime change where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something wonderful can happen. Mr. President, you were criticized for this tweet because you said a whole civilization will die tonight. What do you want to say about that? And what can you tell us about next steps here? Are you planning further destruction?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. That statement brought them to the table, with the exception of the one thing, which I believe that they're going to give up on. I believe they're going to give up on that pretty soon, to be honest, because it's not going to work. We actually thought we had them, and then all of a sudden they said, no, we want. So, but I believe, no. And when I say that, but remember, what have they said to us? For years, I've had to listen to them say, death to America, right? They say, death to America, death to Israel, America, the Satan, we will destroy America, death to America. Now, does anybody ever complain to you when they say that? I think that's a big step worse. Death to America. So they're allowed to say death to America. And what I'm referring to is, when I talk about civilization, it'll be much different because their military will be totally gone. It's pretty much gone now. But their military, look at their leadership. We have had regime change because the people we dealt with yesterday were, frankly, very smart, very sharp, very good. I think they were smarter than the people from before, Khomeini and that group. Because look what it got them. Look what all of their antics was spending trillions they spent all their money on weapons. We've destroyed most of those weapons. Mm-hmm. But, when I say about a civilization, it really has changed. It really has. But think of it. They're allowed to say death to America, death to this, death to... And I make one statement, they say, oh, such a big deal. Let me tell you, that statement got them to the bargaining table, and they haven't left. They haven't left the bargaining table. I predict they come back and they give us every...
Again, we told you that this was leverage and negotiation, and Trump comes out and tells it himself. Again, are we on the phone with Trump? No. Maybe Trump's monitoring our conversations. Because, listen, a lot of stuff he's saying is stuff you hear us saying when we go into the trenches of information warfare and share this on these spaces or these virtual town halls. And so the fact that our messaging is so consistent with what the president's saying and his actual actions of what he's doing, I think we're pretty solid on that. Let's keep going. I was trying to catch up with you guys in the comments there as well. Jack Brindali puts, Trump's number is wrong. The strategy behind it is genius. China doesn't get 90% of its oil from Hormuz. The real number is closer to 50 to 55%. For reference, maybe he was thinking about Iran that's selling 90% of its oil to China. But here's why the exaggeration doesn't matter. The strategic move is real. Think about what Trump is actually doing. If China has to guard Hormuz, Chinese naval assets move to the Middle East. The Taiwan Strait gets less covered. Beijing has to choose between its oil supply and its Taiwan ambitions. China either lets Iran lose a key protector or gets pulled into the conflict. It's a forced choice. Guard your oil or guard your future. You can't do both. Trump isn't giving Hormuz to China. He's handling Beijing and a problem that drains its military focus, its diplomatic capital, and its budget. And the 90% number doesn't need to be accurate. It just needs to make China feel responsible. Have a look at my latest article where I explain the deeper strategy behind all this. Now, and I'll play the clip here, but for those thinking, well, what he's telling you, this strategy that Trump is weaponizing against China, which I agree, this is one of the strategies. Where did it come from? Well, what do you think? This is what Ukraine was for the US. This is why you will see China being behind a lot of what was going on in Ukraine, because what are you doing? You're depleting the military from Russia. You're depleting the military and the ammunition from the US. So you have 3 superpowers, and 2 of these superpowers are involved in what's going on in Ukraine. So what he's describing is this was Trump doing it right back to China. Like, oh, FAFO. Oh, you think you can do it to us? Let me show you how it's really done, and let me do it right back to you. And again, these other numbers that he articulates in that argument are good. I just want people to recognize that this is the shadow war that's been going on. This is why when you see a lot of these pundits and these podcasters that are just talking out their asses, is because they have zero tactical mindset on how these operations are really unfolding or what's the purpose. You may have a great understanding of geopolitics, but if you don't understand military strategy, the people that understand military strategy, I'll tell you folks, when you find them, hang on to them. These are going to be your frontliners for the most accurate assessment of what's to come. You can have someone that really understands the region really well. You can have someone that really understands geopolitics really well. You can have someone that understands religion, whatever the case, really well. If they are absent the experience and knowledge of strategic warfare, they're not going to be able to provide the assessments we are. And why is that? Because this is exactly what's in play right now, is shadow wars, information wars, psychological wars. And when you understand that, and you start to recognize that, and you start to build your assessments around that, you're going to be accurate. And a lot of these people just want to think that it's what it's always been reported. And that's just not the case anymore. Let's keep going. Having a good time. General Flynn puts out, this is real-time hint. This isn't the Strait of Hormuz. What's he talking about? Well, that would be a picture of the United States and the Gulf of America. And what you were seeing there is a whole lot of ships coming into the Gulf of America to get some of that oil. Strategy. Rapid Response puts, POTUS on reports that China is preparing to ship weapons to Iran. If China does that, China is going to have big problems. I guess I'll report on it now. It came out today, and it's some fairly reliable sources that put it out there, so I don't mind sharing a little bit more about it. The ship that I want to say it was called like Tanaka or Taranka. You guys know what ship I'm talking about, the one that our Navy fired on after they gave them ample warnings. Well, it's being reported that there was weapon systems that were on there that were on its way back to China. So again, this kind of shows what I have been saying since the beginning, that the real war is going to be with China. And everybody is still that's, saving Israel for last. Again, from a military strategy standpoint, you would never tell your enemy who's going to be last, because then they know when the time's on the checkboard. So Israel will be near last, but it ain't last, folks. This final battle is going to be with China, and you guys will see that. But again, Trump putting the hammer down on that. John Solomon reports China sold Iran spy satellite that was used to target U.S. bases. Looks like that deep state in there, folks. And again, I am not saying that I'm not anti-sovereign alliance. Some people say, well, you always talking about China, but you talk about sovereign alliance. Yes, I believe Xi is fighting the deep state in China, which is the CCP. And I believe Xi is trying to cooperate and work with Trump and putting these guys in a sovereign alliance. However, China still has the deep state within its own country as well. So just to make that make sense. The White House, China is very happy that I am permanently opening up the Strait of Hormuz. I am doing it for them also and the world. The situation will never happen again. They have agreed not to send weapons to Iran. President Donald J. Trump. The man knows, folks. And then let's play this one right here. MAGA Brittany puts out, I went back and watched this today and never realized the media's first concern was if the calm before the storm was related to Iran. Trump, October 5th, 2017. Take a listen.
Maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the stormy?
Could be the calm before the storm.
What storm, Mr.
We have the
President?
world's great military people in this room, I will tell you that. And we're going to have a great evening. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
But give us a hint on your answer.
Thank you, everybody.
So it's interesting. Nonetheless, it's interesting. We are in that time, folks. Move on to the Rubber Duck. I got to get Rubber Duck on this show. He's been on fire lately. But check out this. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, John F. Kennedy used his Trump card and ordered a naval blockade around Cuba to stop Soviet nuclear missiles from arriving. Result, Soviet Union agreed to remove its nuclear missiles from Cuba. The U.S. agreed not to invade Cuba. U.S. secretly agreed to remove its missiles from Turkey. Crisis ended without a nuclear war. When will you start listening to Anons? And he's talking about Trump's truth post here. The Trump card. The president holds if Iran won't bend, a naval blockade. Was President Trump deploying JFK's playbook? It's a very damn good argument. It's a great argument that's being made there. And again, the Trump card. I like where your mind's at, Rubber Duck, if you're watching. So, parody account, John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. says, boom, Scott Bessent, Trump is waging economic war on British-controlled central banks. It's happening behind the missiles. While the world watches missiles fly over Iran, Trump's real war is deeper. A precision takedown of central banks controlled by the British financial elite. Scott Bessent breaks the silence and exposes the second front. The target, British-controlled bank power. Again, folks, these are the shadow wars that I'm talking about. You're going to like this one.
President Trump gave the order for Treasury to exert a maximum pressure campaign on Iran. I said at a speech at the Economic Club of New York in March that I predicted that the Iranian currency would collapse, that we would see the economy collapse thanks to this maximum pressure. So we have been softening up the economy and preparing the ground for what our great warriors are doing right now. So the Iranian economy was vulnerable. We cut off the dollar supply into Iran. All of their oil is sanctioned. We've been able to keep the funds, many of the funds out of Iran. One of the largest banks collapsed in December. The central bank was forced to print a huge amount of money. Inflation ensued, and people took to the streets. So there was an economic crash in Iran in December, and now we have the opening to go in, and our military is taking over from the sky and from the sea.
Folks, does this sound, and I just want to push back against the argument from the clowns out there that say Israel controls Trump, Israel pushed them into this. If you listen to what Scott Bessent's saying right now, if you look into the entire strategy and everything Trump's done from the beginning of 2.0 office, right, January of last year, all this shows that this was a strategy and a play that he was getting ready to do from way back then. So you can't say that, Israel controls Trump like a retard, because we know those people are retarded. When you literally have, because hindsight's always 20/20 now, you literally have data point after data point after data point that shows that Trump has been preparing for all these moves since last year. And I would argue that these entire plans have been going on since his first administration through the Biden administration. That's a conversation for another day. But nonetheless, coming back to the Rubber Duck with Post 34, trying to get a little breathing room between Israel and Lebanon. It has been a long time since the two leaders have spoken, like 34 years. It will happen tomorrow. Nice, President DJT. And then let's get into the president here. Trump says the U.S. will leave Iran in 2 or 3 weeks. Let's let you listen to this.
Nothing to do with that. What happens in the strait, we're not going to have anything to do with, because these countries, China will go up and they'll fuel up their beautiful ships and they'll leave and they'll take care of themselves. There's no reason for us to do it. We hit them hard. We got rid of a lot of the radicalized lunatics along the strait. but if they want something. But I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3, we're hitting them very hard. Last night we knocked out tremendous amounts of missile-making facilities. We, as you probably read or wrote, we knocked out. Excuse me?
Pardon me for interrupting. The U.S. will be gone or done with the war in 2
I
or 3
think
weeks?
2 or 3 weeks.
Not
Yeah.
3 weeks. If it is
We'll
3
leave
weeks,
because
then it would
there's
be
no
past
reason
the
for us to
war.
do this. Look, problem with the strait, a guy can take a mine, drop it in the water, and say, "Oh, it's unsafe." It's not like you're taking out an army or you're taking out a country, or they can drop it, or you can take a machine gun from the shore and shoot a few bullets at a ship, or maybe an over-the-shoulder missile, small missiles. That's not for us. That'll be for France. That'll be for whoever's using the strait. But I think when we leave, probably that's all cleared up. Today, I heard tremendous numbers of ships were sailing through.
So, there you got that troll. Pure Healer 686. Come on, Alpha. Read us the 20-point list he ran on, and you prove that he is not influenced by Israel. No, you prove it, retard, because we've been doing it the whole, weeks after weeks after weeks. Secure the border. Mass deportations. All these people that lie. He's not doing deportations, and ask him, well, how many self-deportations are happening? And they'll back off the argument. Trump has been phenomenal in accomplishing. You have over 16,000 arrests tied to human trafficking and child trafficking. You have, I think, approaching 135 or 134,000, and this was a couple months ago, so I'm sure the number's higher, that these kids have been either located or rescued that were missing during Biden's administration. Deemed the cartels foreign terrorists. Getting our oil back, right? Literally went and arrested, or some would say rescued, Maduro out of Venezuela. The man has been on fire. But keep watching the show. Haters are welcomed here because we're Team MAGA, baby, all day. Team MAGA, team voting, which is going to move us into the perfect ploy of what's up next. All these attempts to subvert this presidency, and they're failing. Right Angle News Network puts out breaking. Ex-users are now demanding that leftist accounts who ran a targeted campaign spreading false claims about President Trump's ailing health and hospitalization at Walter Reed Hospital lose monetization. Free speech, not free to make money off lies. Now, the only correction I'll put to Right Angle wasn't just the leftists that were doing this. You had FAGA that was doing this as well. So, and I'm all about it. You get people that are out there and pushing propaganda like this, absolutely demonetize them. 100% about it. 100%. I would love for that to see that happen. And let me see, make this a little bit bigger so you guys can kind of see this stuff. You have Ed Krasenstein's, right? These are the garden gnomes. Breaking speculation is rising that Donald Trump is at Walter Reed Medical Center, right? You got his brother, the garden gnome. Breaking. Many are speculating that Trump has a paid visit to Walter Reed Hospital because of his lack of presence during a major war. And then you go, let's pick up another one. Yeah, you have nasty Jersey Joe out there. Is Donald Trump at Walter Reed right now? Brooklyn Dad. Folks are saying Trump is currently at Walter Reed Hospital, pushing all this and all this and all this. And what was Trump doing? That was if you guys remember the post that we did from Saturday's show, up all night. Trump up all night. And that was the rescue time. So while they're, kind of like the Simpson R chat, while they're out there crying, right? Trump's out there rescuing people. Man is a legend. Let's keep going. Benny Johnson reports Matt Gaetz says those behind Russiagate will face charges. Let's take a listen to what he actually says. Tell me I have this one for you guys. And I might not. That's a bummer. I thought I did. But anyways, Matt Gaetz says those behind Russiagate will face charges, and the 2022 FBI raid on President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home will be seen as a criminal, politically motivated act. That's going to result in a prosecution. That Russiagate stuff is going to get charged. That's the big RICO charge we have all been waiting for. The act on Mar-a-Lago is going to be viewed as a predicate criminal act. And I wanted you guys to see this one. So why is this not populating? Hold on, folks. Let me check something real quick. Here, I'll just play it from here. Give me 1 second while I set this up for you guys, because this one is part of what I wanted to tell you guys yesterday. So give me 1 second while I make an adjustment, and then we'll adjust it right back. But I want you guys to hear this because it's going to be part of the I told you so things. All right, so let's hit play on this so you guys can listen.
Good. Right now. That's the big that's the big RICO charge that we've all been waiting for. And the tell is the jurisdiction. The fact that they're doing this outside of Washington, D.C., it shows that the raid on Mar-a-Lago is going to be viewed by the DOJ as a predicate criminal act as part of the cover-up of Russiagate, which creates venue in the Southern District of Florida.
Now, I want you guys to hear this last part right here.
It shows that the raid on Mar-a-Lago is going to be viewed by the DOJ as a predicate criminal act as part of the cover-up of Russiagate.
Now, let me explain to you. I'll go full screen with me while I bring it back and set it up to the way I normally have it for you. What does he mean by that? If you guys remember, all the way to last year, early last year, when you had a bunch of clowns on X saying nothing's going to happen, statute of limitations, nothing's going to happen. Let me bring this back up. Let me put me back where I was going. What did I tell everybody? Because I'm right again. Hopefully the guy that's or girl that's in the chat, or maybe it's a he, she, who knows, will learn something here. If you guys remember, what's one of the things that I said back then? I said, there's going to be a RICO. I go, you're going to see RICO. And we said, the investigations don't take this long. I'm like, well, were you ever an investigator or detective? Because if you weren't, you probably don't know what you're talking about. Because if you're going to do RICO and you're going to do criminal enterprise and you're going to go the ongoing conspiracy act, right, the conspiracy doctrine, then to establish all that means you're going to have predicate crimes. This is how I've explained how you're going to get back into those other elections as far back as they want to go. You need the predicate crimes. And what did you just hear Matt Gaetz say? That the one down in Florida is being handled the way it's handled because it's going to be used as a predicate crime in Russia. Again, confirmation of exactly what I've been telling you. And more important than me telling you is the understanding of what's going on. Because you can't do a RICO case with one predicate crime. So what that means is there's probably some other grand juries that are going on that are going to be handled the same way that we're seeing down in the Southern District of Florida or the southern part of Florida, because they're going to establish more predicate crimes. Again, what is all this going to prove? This is all proving that there's multiple RICO cases that are going on right now. So again, remember precedents, but more important than precedents, remember predicate. Predicate is the important word for the conversation we're talking about. And I thought, to me, that's my highlight from the show tonight. Like, that's how pumped up I am about that one. Caroline Levitt comes out and says, this tweet cites a Daily Beast rewrite of another article filled with anonymous sources who clearly lied, because the story has now been totally rebuked by both the Pentagon and by Cardinal Christopher Pierre. This is 100% garbage fake news. The reporters who wrote it should immediately retract their stories, and the influencers who fell for it should delete their tweets. And she's pointing down at who? CIA Sean Ryan. And what did he post? The Pentagon summoned the Pope's ambassador, told him the United States has the military power to do whatever it wants, and warned that the church better take its side. They even invoked the Avignon papacy, a dark chapter in history when a government used military force to bend. And again, psychological operations, disinformation campaigns, and this administration calling them out by names and posts, because we're in full-blown information warfare, folks, and this is just phenomenal. Again, Rapid Response says, you sick freaks. No lives were lost because America's warfighters are the most powerful, lethal, and precise fighting force ever known to man. God bless our heroes. And this was a Daily Mail post that was there talking about the hundreds of troops, or some I even think said thousands of troops that are died yet. Again, the little girl Ryan Mata that was out there saying this, along with others from Candace, that are all the same crowd that pushes the Charlie Kirk narrative. That same crowd is the one that tries to get you to believe that our military is getting its ass kicked out in the Middle East when we're absolutely decimating Iran and the IRGC and the globalist deep state mechanism. Again, lots of winning. Which now takes us into the second half of the subversion conversation. And so My mouth's dry, folks. Let me get a little bit of water here. We're approaching that 2.5 hour mark. We got some distance. We'll see if we can fly through this. Let's see if we can pull this off in an hour. That's the goal. 1 hour. Someone hit the clock right now when I start the first one. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button, hit the heart, smash the thumb, leave a comment, but definitely share this out. Just to give everybody an eye what the size of the crowd looks like tonight. We got a little over 2,200 people watching live on Rumble. We have a little over 500 people watching live on YouTube. So for the YouTube family out there, if you guys can all do me a solid and share the stream out on YouTube, grow it out, put in your socials. I really love that we're building that YouTube family out there. And then we have about another 1,400 about watching on the X channels, formerly Twitter. So nice audience out tonight. We're probably Marine Corps math, a little over 4,000 that are watching live right now. So anyways, to everybody that's watching, thank you. And again, smash the thumb, hit the heart, leave a comment, and share. Eric Daugherty puts out, holy smokes, President Trump just went nuclear on Joe Kent, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Megyn Kelly. Quote, Kent is a loser, just like Tucker, Candace, Megyn, and the rest of them are losers. You're born that way, low IQ, and there's not a damn thing that they're going to be able to do about it. Who's dumber, Tucker Carlson or Joe Kent? It's very interesting. He was really a sleazebag, and some would say, on top of it all, a leaker. Next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy. And again, highlighting some of the parts on Trump's post, right? Now, what's funny about this, and I think it's great, if you're someone that subscribes that these people are bad, and I do believe some of them are bad, and some would say, well, some of them are playing a role. It's definitely plausible because we know that that's happening in these psychological operations as warfare. The fact that they came out with hats that said low IQ, and what was the other one? It was low IQ and something else. I don't remember what someone in the chat can tell me. And that people were going to buy this merch. Now, one, if people thought that this was going to be the equivalent of when Hillary Clinton called us all, what was the word Hillary called us? The deplorables, right? Well, that was an attack out of the entire Trump base. That's why it didn't work. And it was the support for President Trump and MAG at the time, right? That's why everybody ran with deplorables. It was a badge of honor. Well, in this case, they literally came up and made hats, made merch that said low IQ, and I can't remember what the other word is. I really hope someone puts it in the chat. And people are starting to buy that merch. I think it is the greatest thing in the world, whether they're legitimately bad or whether they're playing a role. I think it's the greatest thing in the world that we're going to be able to see the Tucker, the Joe Kents, the Candace Owens Simps, all of them walking around with the Alex Jones, all of them walking around with hats that say low IQ. I think I can't wait to be in the mall or an airport and see someone with that so I can go push some buttons. I think it's phenomenal. And nobody put the other word in there. It was low IQ and something. I wish maybe it'll pop up later on one of these posts, but let's keep going. So you have Tucker Carlson that puts out this video. He says, yeah, anyway. And in the video, he has music playing. I'm not going to fire off the copyright. So I'm just, obviously you can see. He says, how life feels not being a slave to another man in Big 26, right? Like this is the opposite of whatever, based is. This is totally not based. This is next level. This sucks, right? This is terrible. But again, Tucker's saying that, he's provided this information out there that he's independent. Tucker Carlson Network. Nobody controls him. And then a solid Patriot family audience follower, whatever. I don't know what the appropriate term is. I hate using the word follower and audience. But somebody from the audience reached out to me while I was in Tennessee and asked me, hey, are you familiar with Red Seat Ventures? I said, no. And so long story short, pushed me towards looking into this with Tucker and Candace. So on my initial cursory search of this information, this is what I came up with here. And I put, that's funny because you left Fox News and are now handled by Red Seat Ventures along with Megyn Kelly. Interesting. Fox Corporation acquired RSV this year, Red Seat Ventures. I'm sure it's a coincidence and was never planned. Fox is Tucker's daddy again. So what am I talking about? Well, when we go to this website, Red Seed Ventures, it says Red Seed Ventures powers the most influential creators in the world. And this was created in 2015, actually, 2015. It says we partner with the top talent and brands to fund, build, and operate impactful new media brands. Let me read those words again for the people that have been trying to argue with me on social media. We partner with top talent and brands to fund, build, and operate. Fund, build, and operate. Ain't my words. This is their website. So, creators. Let's meet the creators. News and commentary. Kind of relevant. Let's peep out news and commentary. Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Brett Cooper, Pierce Morgan, Bill O'Reilly, Jillian Michaels, Sean Spicer, Dana Luce, Jesse Kelly, Mike Baker. I mean, you go on. Will Kane, Greg Gutfield, Guy Benson. Tucker Carlson, learn more. Maine and Florida, the Tucker Carlson Show, 2 times per week. Demographics, male, female. 75 for males, 24, I'm guessing that's the percentage, 75% male, 25% female audience. Age ranges from 25 to 54. And you can keep going through here and peeping it all out for all of them. What we do. Services. Let's take a look at that. Content strategy, distribution, financing, editorial support. And then they even show Megyn Kelly's on there. Why hasn't Tucker come out? And because I thought he was just completely independent, Tucker Carlson Network. He has his sponsors, ads, and partnerships that come in through there, and that's it. You know, just kind of like what we do here at the AlphaWarrior Show, right? You know, there's no superseding business that owns us. There's no superseding business that's partnered with us that's, you know, says this is how we're going to do your content strategy. This is how we're going to. No, it's all me, right? And you guys, the audience, right? Because ain't no show without you guys. But there's nobody telling me how to do my content strategy. There's nobody that's out here dictating how I do my distribution strategy. And the financing is by you guys. When you guys support the, you know, my sponsors and affiliates and partnerships, or by becoming a supporter or whatever that means, that's how this show's kept alive. That's how I feed my family. There's no one that does the editorial support. So if Tucker's tied to Red Seed Ventures that does this, then we all should have known. It's Megyn Kelly and all them. Now, what's interesting enough is that 2 of the biggest voices that are coming out and attacking Trump, with, you know, Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson, and they're both tied to the same company that just got acquired by Fox Corporation this February. Does it mean anything? It suggests a lot. Further research is definitely needed. Obviously, I don't want to do an indictment of everybody that's here, but damn, this is, you know, didn't find out because Tucker told us. And you don't think Tucker would probably want to come out and tell his audience, hey, I left Fox and there's been this acquisition, and, you know, I'm going to keep tabs on this, folks. I'm going to make sure that Fox doesn't try to, you know, dictate what I do anymore. I'll just say, we were right again. Now, I'm not going to play this whole clip. It's just a good one, but it's too long, so I'm not going to play this whole clip. But I'll put this down in the comments for you guys too. But Patrick Bet-David, him and Tucker kind of have this back and forth that had been going. And Patrick Bet-David, it's not in this video, but this is a good video where he essentially comes out and says, hey, you know, this is who I am. I'm Christian. This is what I believe. Yeah, I'm America first. This is where I stand. And he calls out Tucker on some stuff. And he does it in a very professional manner. He's very transparent. He even says, I tried to get Tucker, offered Tucker a contract, very large contract. Like he's very transparent in this, but it was a very professional way of putting Tucker in his place. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal the way he went about it. And he exposed, you know, Tucker's going, you know, hard against this particular group, but maybe not so here. It's a great one. I'll pin it. But then Patrick Bet-David came back and I don't think I have this clip on here. I have it saved on something else. And this conversation escalated. And I'm going to summarize here for you guys. But what Patrick Bet-David did, and I don't think Tucker's going to accept this challenge. If he does, it'll be very interesting. But there's no way in hell he's going to. He comes out and he says, let's put our finances out for the world to see. He says, and I'm not talking, I'm talking, he goes, we go, and he names off some firms, and he tells Tucker, you and I, we know these firms because, we both make a lot of money, and this will probably take a couple months, but you'll pick a firm, I'll pick a firm, and then we'll pick one that we both agree on. So 3 different firms. He goes, they'll go through my financial records, they'll go through your financial records, and they'll go through the records of our wives as well. He goes, and we'll find out if I'm getting paid by Israel, and we'll find out if you're getting paid by Qatar or someone else. He goes, let's put it out there. He goes, all these, they'll all review it. No shell company. He goes, everything, the smaller companies, everything, all of it out there. Like Patrick Bet-David just cornered the shit out of Tucker Carlson. And the reason I think that this is boss level is because we're in a much smaller world, right? The lower, the bottom of the barrel influencers, that's where we operate, right? And some people that have tried to come after me on social media, kind of like the clown era, just say you get paid by Israel. I say, hey, put out your tax documents and I'll put out my information. Let's see who gets paid by who. Because I ain't got nothing to hide. And so Patrick Bet-David just did that, but on a massive scale. So a lot of people have been talking about this. I checked early this morning. Tucker Carlson hadn't responded to it. But Patrick Bet-David said, he goes, I know you probably won't, but it's out there. The challenge is there. And so I'll tell you what, man, that was fire. Let's keep going. This one, Navy Vet puts it out. Tucker Carlson has lost the plot. Well said. He's referring to what Josh Howerton put out. In this video, I am going to show you guys because this one is solid. And here we go. I was like, I know I have this one.
And no president should mock Islam. That's not your job. But by the way, no decent person mocks other people's religions. You may have a problem with the theology. Presumably you do if it's not your religion. And you can explain what that is.
Okay, now hang on. What you need to learn to do is when somebody is making religious and especially biblical truth claims, what you need to pause and learn to do is evaluate the person that's speaking to you and watch closely. So I want you to notice something about Tucker that I'm at least starting to go like, What I want you to notice is when it comes to Islam, Tucker wants calm, rational explanation and argumentation, and mockery and derision are out of bounds, okay? But for some reason, honestly, I would like to ask him this. He spent the last 8 months on X saying things like he, quote, hates Christian Zionists, calling them heretics. I'm not saying that's me. I'm just saying how he's treating religions that he views different than his own. Actually, he said he hates them more than anyone else, and mocking and misrepresenting a lot of their beliefs. Why is it that when it comes to Islam, mockery completely out of bounds, but he's okay personally engaging that type of mockery with certain groups of Christians? That's very interesting. I do not think we need to treat Tucker right now as somebody that's not a Christian or is an apostate person or a false teacher, anything like that. Maybe. Just keep your eyes open. I've been doing this pastor thing a minute, and I just want to tell you something I've seen too many times for it to be a coincidence. Whenever I've seen pastors either go apostate, deconvert from the faith, or actually gravitate towards actual biblically defined heresy and go super progressive and all the things, they don't tell you that they're doing that. What they do first is they spend 2 or 3 years becoming like the Christian that hates all the other Christians. In general, if you want to know what team somebody is heading towards or what team somebody's playing for, don't necessarily watch what they say, watch which direction they fire their bullets.
He literally used Tucker's, and Tucker's in there, but people shouldn't do it. And then he shows the evidence of, and he didn't even have to show. Any of you that have been following Tucker or listening to stuff, you've heard when he's come out and said these things. And so let's see. Miss Ray of Freedom Fire says, you did a just alpha without informing me. How dare you? I posted it out there. All right. That's it. Told you guys all yesterday. If you're watching Q After Hours, Miss Ray of Freedom Fighter said, doing a just alpha tomorrow. I said, indeed, you slackers. But again, Tucker getting obliterated. Jacoby puts, it's worth pointing out just how wrong Tucker Carlson was. This post is from March 17th of last year. Tucker Carlson says, it's worth pointing out that a strike on Iranian nuclear sites would almost certainly result in thousands of Americans' death at bases throughout the Middle East and cost the United States tens of billions of dollars. The cost of future acts of terrorism on American soil may even be higher. Those aren't guesses. Those are the Pentagon's own estimates. A bombing campaign against Iran will set off a war, and it will be America's war. Don't let the propagandists lie to you. And who got caught lying? Well, Tucker Carlson. Either lying or he got it damn well wrong, just like Candace and Ian Carroll, and Ryan Mata, and Dan Bazilian, and Nick Fuentes, and all the other clowns that have been trying to subvert this presidency in this country. Let's keep pushing. Buzz puts out, I never thought that I would live to see half the United States root for the U.S. military's defeat. What a sad and sick commentary. It's disgusting. Now, I agree with him. I never thought I'd see that either. I disagree with Buzz on here on the half of America. It's not. It's the perception that these clowns, this is why we address this, so often on these podcasts. It's about perception. It's information warfare, psychological warfare, disinformation, misinformation campaigns. They want to create the perception so people will feel like Buzz. Man, this is disgusting. Half the country feels this way, but it doesn't. But that's what they want to make it seem like. But again, I get where Buzz is coming from, and I like Buzz. Tiffany Savage puts, meet the Iran appeasement pod squad, chasing a gullible audience and cheap publicity with third-rate podcasts. And from left to right, you got Candace Owens, Megan Kelly, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Glenn Greenwald, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Keith Hodge and his brother Kevin Hodge, and Glenn Greenwald was the one doing the freaky shit that got caught on the camera. And I just want to make sure nobody joining the YouTube family. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, so if they did, we can give them some love and a shout out. But again, now, interesting enough, we'll be addressing the Joe Rogan thing a little bit later to be fair and fully transparent. But yes, these people have definitely not been trying to help the president, at least. She thinks Freely puts, people are missing the significance of this. Courtney Williams leaked to Seth Harp. Seth Harp was interviewed by Tucker Carlson about his book, The Fort Bragg Cartel, which quoted Williams extensively. Seth Harp was accused of leaking classified intel after he posted a photograph of a person he identified as the commander of an elite unit responsible for the Venezuela operation. He doxed the wrong person. Courtney Williams was arrested and indicted for allegedly leaking classified information tied to that same world. Worth watching how this plays out, because this is exactly where media, national security, and accountability intersect. I wonder if it will be more. Can't wait to see what comes out in court. Now, this is all going to be interesting, and at the end of the show, when we put a bow on all this, it's going to make sense. I promise you. Tony puts out Tucker Carlson in 2012. Let's take a listen to Tucker Carlson in 2012.
The lone voice in saying this, I think Iran deserves to be annihilated. I think they're lunatics. I think they're evil.
Tucker, aren't we the only country allowed to make preemptive strikes? Who the hell does Iran think it is?
That's it. Actually, I know you're sort of kidding, but I agree with that. I think we are the only country
I'm not
with the
kidding
moral
at all.
authority. Rather, we are. That's absolutely right. The only country with the moral authority sufficient to do that. The only country that doesn't seek hegemony in the world.
Did Tucker Carlson just say that Iran is evil and dangerous and deserves to be annihilated? He did. If you guys want to clip that and send it to him, I would definitely support that. Former Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene, 25th Amendment. Now, folks, for those of you, and if you're new to the AlphaWarrior Show, thank you and welcome. Welcome to the family. But for those of you that have been watching, who told you guys last year that when they start to get into the division and they start to push their narratives, that they're going to push the 25th against President Trump? And again, people said, they're not going to take it that far. You got it wrong, Alpha. Here we are. This isn't the first one. All right. I think this is the second or the third one that we've heard so far. But here you are. MTG, 25th Amendment. Not a single bomb has dropped on America. We cannot kill an entire civilization. This evil and madness. Now, again, and including some of my friends, and shame on them, so disappointed in them. You have the IRGC. You go on YouTube, folks, and find these videos chanting death to America in their parliament while they're burning our U.S. flags. Death to America. And you have Americans, retarded, but Americans, come out and say, well, they're not talking about all of America. They're just talking about the government. They're not chanting death to the American government. And they're not burning pictures of congressmen. They're chanting death to America and burning the U.S. flag. Yes, folks, they're talking about you, me, and our soil. And MTG and others think that we're the evil ones and we're the bad guys. Can't fix retarded. Make sure there's no video clip attached to that to show you guys again. I put, how does infiltration work? How does it look? What would a successful infiltration operation look like? Shannon Arminas responds, looks like this. And again, MTG, 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 all the contradictory statements. And then you get over here and CNN. Who is there? MTG, 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 and MTG. And for the record, I know you guys are like, oh, we're so tired when you say you told us. I'm just trying to point out. Remember when you guys all got mad at me when I said I called out MTG and Gates? And I said, look, they are not pushing what we need to happen. And I said, MTG is an infiltrator. You're going to see it. Told you so. Just saying. JTC puts out, Megyn Kelly is absolutely dumbfounded that Trump wants to get uranium from Iran. First, they said there was no proof. Now, when Trump wants to get the proof, Megyn is perplexed. This is funny.
Okay. So if it's not hundreds of thousands, then it kind of doesn't count. And now we need to get the uranium. It's a new goal. We're 4 weeks into this war. Did anybody hear about we're going to go and get vial, like containers, scuba-sized containers of uranium? Did anyone list that? Okay, weren't we told in June that we had destroyed their nuclear capability, obliterated? Didn't we hear that? Now there's like untold amounts of uranium in the mountains of Iran that we need super specialist engineers to go in to grab, creating our own airfield with base support. Like, when did that become the goal? Because what we heard from President Trump was, make sure you watch Micro tonight on Fox News. And that was his message. We got to get their uranium. That's our new goal. And now the Wall Street Journal the next day drops a piece saying the uranium, it's going to be a daring, exciting mission. Got to get everybody hyped up for it, for the next big show that endangers the lives of our troops. It does sound like Mr. Trump may be leaning toward doing some sort of ground operation, but the president, when asked directly about putting boots on the ground last night on Air Force One, responded this way.
Are you considering still putting boots on the ground, and would you do that without going to Congress?
I just have lots of alternatives. We have tremendous numbers of ships over there. We don't need them though because of, the power. Look, I would say we're just like we're ahead of schedule on the ballroom. In a much bigger way, we're ahead of schedule with Iran. We're weeks ahead of schedule. If you would have said that in 3 days we were going to knock out 158 ships, their entire Navy, which we did, we knocked out their entire Air Force. We knocked out most of their missiles. That's why you see missile attacks, but they're down to sputtering. And we have a group, it's really a new regime. It's a group of people that we've never dealt with before, that are acting very reasonable. It is truly regime change.
So we've accomplished regime change, but we have to stay there and possibly hit all the desalination plants and the energy plants. Because even though the new group of people pursuant to the regime change is very, very reasonable, we might not reach a deal and we might have to bomb them to smithereens. I mean,
there's no uranium that's enriched. Trump, we're going to go get the evidence. Megyn, yeah, do it. I mean, these people, and this is what you got to understand with these operations that are meant to subvert the president. It doesn't matter what position Trump takes. They're going to take the opposing one and sell the argument against it. It doesn't matter if if Trump arranges a peace deal, whether it be Lebanon and Israel or Ukraine and Russia, or they're going to say it came at this cost. He sacrificed this. He's really doing it for this. These people have zero intentions of crediting the president, this administration, or our military for the success that they're having, because this is the definition of subversion. I want everybody to understand that. That's why you're going to keep hearing me harp on this word subversion, because you guys need to recognize this thing that is happening on Substacks. It's happening on podcasts. It's happening on social media. It's happening on mainstream. It's happening on radio. Everywhere that there is access to information, there's the deployment of assets, operators, and contractors that are there for the sole purpose of subverting the president of the United States in this country by impacting your emotions. And the second that you recognize that this is what you're being exposed to daily on your drive to work, while you're watching TV on your lunch break in the break room at your job, where you're cleaning the house and the TV's on with the news, this is what you're exposed to daily. This is the information warfare that we're in. Whether you like it or you don't, whether you choose to be a part of it or not, it's being weaponized against you. And you have to recognize the rhetoric. Some people ask, why don't you just tell us what the videos show? And instead of just showing it, that would kind of speed up the shows. And it would speed up the shows. But I want you guys to retain this, and myself included, to retain hearing it over and over and over, because it's just like snapping in as an infantry Marine, right? Shout out to all my devil dogs that are in the chat. If you're a Marine, or you got someone in your immediate family that's a Marine, husband, wife, son, daughter, drop a Semper Fi in the live chat. I want to see how much Marine family we got in here. But you guys remember snapping in, right? White barrels out there with the dog targets. And while they're in the dog targets, we're there with our rifles in that hot-ass Southern California sun. And what are we doing? Sight picture alignment, breathing exercises, and form over and over and over. Practicing that little click, click, click. All the grunts know what I'm talking about, right? Well, it's that repetition and practice. That's the same thing that all of us have to become experts in this information warfare. This is not just a podcast for entertainment, folks. I hope it's entertaining for you, but that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of this is, think of it as a briefing or a debriefing on what has happened, what's unfolding, and what we can anticipate. And all this is so that this information becomes your tool set, your weapon system, to assist you at church, to assist you at work, to assist you with your family. When your kids come up and say, hey, I heard a teacher say this, mom or pops, or hey, the news reported this, you have an immediate response to this because you are informed. Our part in this war, as Trump and the White Hats go and handle the shadow wars, our part is being informed and then doing something. You guys heard that saying, and I wish I would love to give credit. I love watching these motivational videos while working out or doing the cold plunge or whatever. And somebody said, you heard the saying, information. Gosh, I'm butchering it. And I apologize, but information's everything, right? Something that somebody in the chat will correct me. And this gentleman comes out and says, no, information is not everything. He goes, it's only the first half. The second half is, what do you do with that information? And I was like, damn, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. So remember, this podcast is only half of what's needed. This podcast is providing information. What you do with that information is what makes you a danger to the deep state. So enough. Information is power. Thank you, Mago Jack. There it is. Information is power. See, you guys are brilliant. You're all brilliant. I'm hungry. I haven't had dinner. I'm starving Marvin, right? But yeah, so information is power, but it's only half. It's only half of it. So let's keep going. I want to fly through this with you guys. Natalie Jean Besner puts out a video from Candace. I just don't even care about Trump right now. He's so disgusting. Him mocking Joe Kent's wife. Remember, all the people said, "Oh no, this is how they really feel, folks." And I hope you're listening.
They are peak psycho right now, and I do want to show you actually, and I'm going to skip the Trump clip, guys, because I just don't even care about Trump right now. He's so disgusting. Him trying to mock and be funny about Joe Kent's wife, who sacrificed her life for this country, being snotty, I guess, by saying, "Oh, he married pretty quickly. He married 5 years later. He remarried 5 years later. He had 2 young children."
You really did hear Candace saying, you mock someone's wife. What has she been doing to Erica Kirk? Allegedly, right? Allegedly, Candace Owens is Charlie Kirk's best friend. And she's literally been mocking her alleged best friend, which I think is a bunch of bullshit, literally has been mocking Charlie Kirk's widow since September of 2025. But her simps won't call that out. They're cult. Joe Kent comes out and says, it appears that the zero enrichment poison pill killed the Islamabad negotiations yesterday. We have 9 more days in this ceasefire to fix this, but we must pursue our goals, not Israel's. Trump's red line has always been no nuclear weapons for Iran, not zero enrichment. Iran agrees with this and has not sought to develop or obtain a nuke since 2003, but needs to retain the ability to enrich for their not Saddam, but not Gaddafi policy to work. This makes negotiations, but do you hear what Joe Kent's telling you, folks? He's making the argument that Iran, remember the same ones I told you that have videos out there, Death to America, that Iran is trying to maintain some form of uranium in order for them to have negotiation power with the U.S. This is Joe Kent telling you that, oh no, they're just trying to make it a fair fight when it comes to negotiations. And again, information has surfaced that the last time, I believe is what the IEAPA went out there, that they literally had, I think it's like 900 pounds of uranium that was enriched to 60% or beyond. So again, he's inaccurate about this information. Scary considering the position that he had within the Trump administration, but nonetheless, he's making the argument. That's what all these people do. They sit here and say that, they bring up the Israel thing because they know it's an emotional pivot point for people's discernment. And then they come and try to sell the argument that they're against Israel because they're America first. But then this clown sit here making the argument for why Iran should be able to have uranium and do enrichment. It is the wildest shit that I hear. And it just blows my mind how so many of you still support him. Jackson Hinkle, this clown. Iran just proved that Trump is a paper tiger. Again, if Trump negotiates a peace deal, then he's a paper tiger. But if he says, I'm going to glass the entire civilization, then he's a tyrant. He's a tyrant. You get it, folks? All they want to do is subvert the president. That's it. Let's keep going. Health Ranger. He's gone full clown. Prediction. Hegseth is fired before the end of the month. He will be the scapegoat for humiliating U.S. military failure we just witnessed as the Strait of Hormuz reverts to Iranian control, making Iran a world power with uncontested control over the most important choke point in the world. Let's just address the complete retard that Health Ranger went here. You went full retard here, bro. And you've been doing it for a couple of months, so it's not surprising. One, that Hegseth's going to be fired before the end of the month. Wrong. He's doing a phenomenal job. Trump's already articulated that, so he's not going nowhere. Let's address the next one. Humiliating U.S. military failure. Where? They just pulled off a rescue operation in Iranian territory. And if you guys are not familiar with the geography of Iran, it is not a flat land, folks. Like people imagine it not. It's a very rugged terrain with a lot of mountains and elevation stuff. And we went and pulled out a massive rescue operation. And then he says that Iran will be a world superpower. Please explain how that's coming to be. And the most important choke point in the world. Well, first, you have the anti-MAGA, anti-Trump, anti-U.S. crowd make the argument that we only rely on the Strait of Hormuz for 1% to 3%. And that's what Trump's words are. And they're right. But then how are you going to come and make the argument that it's the most important choke point in the world when you just finished making the argument that we only rely on 1% to 3% of it? And Trump's even exposing who's the one that needs to go and defend it. These people, they're the cult, folks. Anti-Trump, anti-America is the cult. Let's keep firing off. Let's fly through this. Jim Hansen, he puts, shut the fuck up, you embarrassment. STFU. And who's he talking to? He's talking to another retard, Douglas McGregor. On April 4th, but breaking, Iranian army warns of massive historic surprise tonight that the world will remember for centuries. These people are Team Iran. It blows my mind, especially when you got Douglas McGregor, who's a vet. They hate the U.S. because they hate Trump. Ezra Cohen posts, notable. What's he talking about? Trump tears into Tucker Carlson over Iran war claims. Low IQ person. Let's keep firing through this. This one's, I'm not going to play the whole video. I'm going to play 2 minutes. The Misfit Patriot says, tell me you're fucking retarded without telling me. And again, the clip is too long and you would get a headache. But here's 2 minutes of it where he does answer, tell me you're retarded without telling me you're retarded.
Is it time to vote Democrat in the midterms? Now, this is a question that the Republicans are going to have to deal with. Now, personally, I don't see how I could ever vote Democrat. I couldn't even imagine 4 years ago having this conversation or even entertaining this idea that, should people be voting Democrat? But this isn't about me. This is about the midterm elections coming up and the fact that this question is being asked by a lot of Trump voters. But I want to explain why this is such an issue as the GOP mouthpieces, the Republican Party mouthpieces, have a new presentation for you to try to get you back to the polls to vote Republican. So obviously, there's the MAGA split, the death of MAGA, however you want to call it, Trump attacking some of his biggest supporters yesterday. This has become the trend. And of course, that on top of the main course, which is that much of Trump's supporting base feels they've been betrayed and they feel like promises have been broken as far as what Trump ran on and what we're getting from this administration. The war, no mass deportations, we can go down the list, but this is happening. So here's why the question is so important. Is it time to vote Democrat? So the new talking point from the GOP mouthpieces, the new talking point from the Trump supporting mouthpieces that you're already seeing or you're going to start seeing as we get closer to the midterms is, hey, it's time to rally around Trump. It's time to rally around the Republican Party. It's time to go out there and vote for Republicans. We got to keep Democrats out of office. So let's put our differences aside. Let's go out and let's vote Republican. Here's the problem. This messaging doesn't really work for.
So disappointed in Owen Schroyer. I really liked him. He brought me on his show to do an assessment during the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination thing. And to see these people just fly by the wayside, you got to call a spade, right? You start telling people and implying that this is a time to not vote or vote Democrat, you are a fucking op. Period. I don't care if I liked you or not. That's what you are. You are an op. You are trying to subvert this country. And shout out to Poison Pond. You're right. I got it backwards. They hate Trump because they hate America. So I definitely agree with you on that. But these are the operations, folks. Told you they'd be pushing the 25th. I told you these people way back when. I told everybody way back then, before the elections, that you were going to see Nick Fuentes and all these other people and Candace Owens tell people to start voting for people that weren't Trump. It's just pattern recognitions. And now as we're approaching midterms, you see all the clowns talking about or implying not to vote or to vote Democrat. Let's fire through this. In him I've put this together myself. All these Israel-obsessed dorks are Catholics. Maybe it's time to dig into the history of Catholicism. Again, they may have that linkage, but I will tell you universally that there are a lot of Catholics that don't subscribe to this. It's like trying to attribute these people to actually being MAGA. They're just infiltrators with titles, and they want to create a religious war. I mean, you saw one of them, as a matter of fact, right here on Milo's. It's Catholics and Muslims versus Protestants and Jews. Be on the right side of the line when the curtain comes down. No, it's not. Ain't Catholics and Muslims for shit. And it's none of that. They want to create tribalism, and they want to use religion as one of the mechanisms to do that, because religion is very, very tribal. Don't fall for it. Religion and race, that's how they want to bait. Erica C47 puts, they never said this under Joe Biden or Obama because it has never been about Israel or Epstein. It's all about stopping President Trump, and they're all in on it. What's she talking about? Jake Shields puts this quote out there. The only solution is to start K-word politicians. Got to be careful. I want to make sure we survive on YouTube to keep that audience out there. Did you see it on the screen? She's right. Why weren't they calling for this stuff under Biden? Look at all the stuff we were being subjected to, but they'll call for it now. There's some interesting photos out there circulating about Jake Shields. And again, called them all out early too. Candace Owens tells President Trump that he belongs to the Epstein class and that MAGA is no longer commanded by him. Listen.
Let me tell you something, and this is just reality, okay? Going back to just the rules of the jungle. Okay, let all the politicians and advisors around you evaporate for just a moment. Just you and me. Ready? People will not fight beside, behind, or for someone who is fundamentally disloyal. Okay? If disloyalty and deceit is in your nature, then I highly suggest that you combine it with silence. You can be what you are, but I would advise you do it quietly, Trump. Because MAGA is no longer commanded by you, and you know it. You know it. You belong to the Epstein class. That is your legacy now. People will see your name on buildings, whatever was agreed upon in those boardrooms, Jared Kushner, Trump, Gaza, hotel, whatever you tweeted, so crass. They will see that. You will earn that. And then when they see it, they will think about how many children had to die or be raped by men on islands so that you could stick the Trump name upon a building.
Now, something she said in there is very true. What, Alpha? Don't panic. Men won't fight if they don't think there's loyalty. It's a correct statement. Now do you understand why they're trying to make everything seem? She literally just told you why they're doing what they're doing. They're trying to paint this image, this perception of the president. So this way the troops won't be loyal to him, because she knows that if they can accomplish their mission, then what she's saying turns into fruition. They won't fight. They won't be loyal. Now do you understand why this operation's in play? Because she literally told you. Not my words, hers. I just exposed what she's trying to do with them. Paramount Tactical Gary Mountain puts out, no, real Candace, it's not PR horseshit. It's the millions of people, almost all of whom are nuts, given that they listen to you, agree with them on that you have radicalized and weaponized against her. You're accusing her of murdering Charlie Kirk. So a percentage of your cult now wants and is willing to get revenge on an innocent widow. You're a disgusting human being. This is regarding the JD Vance, the threats that we're talking about earlier. And people posted them. I think I might have one coming up. But you literally had people that were posting, quote, under Candace's comments that, hey, I'll go and, do the deed, right, against Erica Kirk. That's her audience. This is what she's eliciting from these psychopaths that are out there. And she knows it. Alaska Bird puts, this is super strange. Looks like Kurt Metzger has been trying to warn Candace Owens and his boss, Jimmy Dore, about John Mappin, since she claimed the French government paid a hitman to assassinate her last December. Jimmy Dore nervously cuts him off immediately. I don't know anything about that. Let's not get off on, I thought they were all about free speech and exploring every possibility. Dore has been one of Candace Owens' biggest defender. This John Mappin story is going to be very interesting. We'll be doing a show on that here pretty soon. But listen to the awkwardness of this.
Let all be revealed.
Yeah. Well, let me reveal something to Candace. Don't trust John Mappin, Candace.
Okay. I don't know anything about that. Let's not get off. But
let all be revealed. And that guy's a clown himself. I'm not giving him any credibility. I'm not saying that. But then he goes and he fires off on John Mappin, and Jimmy Dore's like, wait. You just finished saying, let it all be revealed. Again, folks, these people are hypocrites at the biggest point. We're coming to a close. This last part we'll start flying through. Maverick Alexander puts RFK reveals the devastating truth about the No Kings protest to Theo Vaughn. Unreal. Let's listen.
The No Kings.
And you have RFK there that came out and said, well, yeah, because we controlled them. We did them. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. I don't think so. And that brings us to this point to wrap up this section. President Trump is having a surprise tomorrow at 9 a.m. executive order signing. Someone is coming to the White House who loves the country very much. He's going to be good for the country. Any guesses? And all the guesses ran rapid. And what was the guess? Well, the next day is when Trump signed the executive order for, I believe it was the FDA or a portion of our government to look into the research of psychedelics to see, does it have a role in curing people and doing all this? And who was there in the Oval Office when this happened? Who was that special guest? Joe Rogan. But Joe Rogan was in that panel of people that are, yes, he was. Again, are some people playing roles? I suspect so. And Joe Rogan was there. So, folks, remember, just for people that are kind of confused in that or maybe haven't been tracking, all the wars that we've been in that we agree have all been fake wars, right? At least back to World War II. How was that? Well, you had the deep state, the central bankers, they controlled both sides of the war. That's how they controlled the way it looked, the narrative, the agenda. So what you're seeing here by this administration, by the White Hats, is they're controlling both sides as well. They're playing the playbook back against them. They infiltrated the infiltrators. Solid work. Let's fire through because I'm tired, folks. I know you guys feeling tired. We're 3 hours and 13 minutes to see what we can accomplish in 16 minutes. JD Vance comes out again and just kind of points out the 10-point proposal, that they were lying. He addresses it. He says, hey, this is exactly what we mean. This is what we meant. That's how it played out. So again, exposing the lies. General Flynn comes out and posts, there must be consequences for those who push these foreign interference hoaxes that undermine the fabric of our constitutional republic. And again, it's been happening left and right by all of them. Let me play this one because this one is important. It's only about a minute.
It should shake every single American in their shoes. I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016. We must, absolutely must, hold every one of these criminals accountable for the crimes that they committed. They are the most heinous crimes committed in American history. James Comey, John Brennan, Clapper, Rice, Biden was in the meeting in July 28th in the Oval Office. They briefed Barack Obama on Hillary Clinton's plan to, quote, tie Trump to Russia collusion lies. It consumed our national discourse for 5 years. It undermined a sitting duly elected president. It sabotaged administration. It framed a three-star general. It destroyed and ripped this country apart. We had a constitutional crisis, the likes of which I don't think any American can fully comprehend. It is atrocious, and every single one of them must be held accountable.
Yeah, and of course.
100%. And I agree with the general on that one. Jack puts out, break President Trump tells Erica Kirk to sue the people like Drewski and Candace Owens who are attacking her online. They're jealous of Erica. You ought to sue. I can say you're not allowed to say this. Let me just play this because I'm just tripping on my damn words.
A thing called Happy Easter. Do we have that? Everyone happy? Anybody that does? A thing called Happy Easter. Do we have that? Everyone happy? Anybody that doesn't want? Hello, darling. Wow, this is a good table. I like that table. You're doing well, right? Okay. I think you should sue him, but, I told her, you ought to sue somebody. They're so jealous of Erica. I said, you ought to sue their... I can say it. You're not allowed to say this. You have to be nicer. Sue their ass off.
You can't say it. I'll say it. Sue their asses off. Absolutely love our president. And then it brings to this point. So this long. I'm not going to read this long post, but this is the one where I'll read the first part. I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think that it's wonderful for Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror, to have a nuclear weapon, because they all have one thing in common: low IQ, right? And immediately you see Candace Owens, their simps, and everybody say, he's attacking the base. Oh my God, how can Trump come out and say something like this? And that's what inspired me to put this post. Faga. Trump attacks his own supporters. The expectation: influencers should be able to defame, subvert, lie, and support America's enemies, and Trump should love them for it and remain silent. Real MAGA. Trump lay waste to those who support our enemies, make fun of them, meme them, and do mean tweets again. Trump, hold my beer. And that's where we're at. And then to wrap up this segment here, and then I got some good news and some bad news for you guys. So Covino puts out there many dedicated people in government who could leave tomorrow and earn tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a month as so-called influencers on social media. But they chose to serve the American people instead, all while the so-called influencers talk shit all day long and get paid big money for clicks and impressions. We see you. I told you that they're watching a long time ago. There'll be an accountability for those as well. But again, folks, when people say it's just social media drama, no, it's not. These are formal operations of subversion and infiltration. What did this look like? Gary puts out, meet Candace Owens' followers. And this is Tara Bull's post. This is scary. The Chinese AI agent Manus AI is running 50 social media accounts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's showing this. So here's a strategy that I have. You guys can adopt it. It's up to you. If I have someone, that's anti-Trump, anti-America, a jihadi simp, right, that approaches me on social media and starts to put out derogatory remarks or trying to bait, first thing I do is I pull up their profile. And if it shows the earmarkings of a bot account, I don't even acknowledge it. If it's an unverified account, I don't even respond to it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to force you to spend the money to use your verified accounts. So when it's negative content, I only engage the accounts that are verified, or situations where I've known that account for years and I know they're retarded, and I'm going to engage them just because I want to make them look foolish. It's fun. But what I've chose to do is negative interactions. If they're unverified, I don't even interact with them. And so be happy 731 Alpha. It's almost 1 a.m. on the East Coast. Please wrap it up. Be happy. Go to sleep. If you're tired, go to sleep. You can finish the replay tomorrow. I'm going to be closing it up here because this is the good news. Good news is we are going to be wrapping it up. The bad news is we are going to save the Melania Epstein portion for the next Just Alpha. I don't want to rush through it because it's too important and there's some solid points that I want to make. And you guys know me. This information is important. So we're going to save the last portion of this show, the Melania Epstein one, for the next Just Alpha. And we'll address it there because it's probably about a good 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And I just want to make sure that my mind is tapped in to do that well. I want to deliver that for you. But I do want to wrap us up with the stuff that was important. So still important. Not saying that's not. We're going to close out the show the way I still want it to. Eagle Ed Martin, right on. What's he talking about? Quote from Thomas Paine. I prefer peace, but if trouble must come, let it come in my time so that my children can live in peace. And this is absolutely the world where I operate from. And I think a lot of real fighters and warriors that have seen combat, whether foreign or domestically, we don't want war. We don't want civil war. We don't want revolution. But because we don't want it, doesn't mean that if it comes to it, we won't be the most lethal fighters that exist against that apparatus, especially when it means that our kids won't have to be the ones to face it. I just want to bring peace to your guys' thought process. For those of you that aren't military or not in that world, there are a bunch of war fighters in this country that want peace and they want this process to play out. They want to support this president so that he can accomplish what he wants. And all these people that are talking shit on Trump and talking shit on MAGA and talking shit on America and on our military, these people would never fight. And most of them didn't sign the dotted line. And the ones that say, oh, I'm a veteran. I know I'm going to offend some people, but you know, I love you. Probably pogues too. And for people, what are pogues? People other than grunts, right? Chair force. I love you guys. You're just trying to call a spade a spade. Yeah, you get where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to be offensive to the wrong people. Victoria Brooke puts this out. The Pentagon's Strategic Capabilities Office is launching an initiative to wage cognitive warfare, non-kinetic military operations short of major destructive conflict, to disrupt cognition and thinking ability of the adversary or person and influence adversaries' perceptions, senses, and actions. Let's take a look at this.
It's very rude, you know, to read my thoughts, or Mr. Lynch's, without our permission.
Did you think you were the only one of your kind, young lady?
We're mutants, Jean. We are like you.
Really? I doubt that.
Some interesting stuff going on. The golden age panicins every time Trump wins. I'll just leave that there for a moment, because when we do podcasts like this and when you guys don't fall for the propaganda, when you guys say, no, absolutely support Erica Kirk, Charlie's wife. Absolutely don't want to see is Islam take over the United States. I absolutely think that the IRGC and the Houthis and Hamas and Hezbollah are terrorists. This is the reaction these people get when their propaganda doesn't work on you. Just remember that. Make you sleep better at night. And then, of course, if you want any confirmations, what did Trump do the other day? Boom, boom, boom. And why was that important? Because he did it on the exact delta, April 17th, of boom, boom, boom. And then if you watch the clip, he throws in that fourth boom right afterwards. I'm telling you, it is what it is. Shout out Carmen Loves. Oh, freaking Carmen from X became a monthly supporter over here on Rumble. Shout out to you, Carmen. Thank you for that. Thank you for the support, homie. Appreciate that. What else do we got? Sun Tzu. This one's important, so I want to make sure we cover this as well. And I do got a cool video for you guys on the way out. I see a lot of people hating on General Flynn, and we talked about this last night. So if you watch Q After Hours, you're familiar with this conversation, but it's something I want to make sure everybody hears. Sun Tzu puts out, I see a lot of people hating on General Flynn and Q. This is personal to me. Here's why. In early 2018, I was one of the only lawmakers analyzing Q posts and posting threads of analysis of what Q was saying from the standpoint of a trial lawyer. I received a random direct message from General Flynn. I'm posting it here. This was after one of my threads on a Q post. He encouraged me because that was a lonely time back then. Late on in September, General Flynn accepted an award and gave a wonderful speech. Later that night, he sent me this direct message, where we go when we go all. And the typo there, you know what he's trying to say. Prior to that, the only place that I had ever heard that was from Q 3 or 4 times before Flynn sent it to me. It has been 8 years since he sent me that message. I am a big picture thinker. I see what's going on. Do with that what you want. What's he talking about? He's talking about right here. You nailed it. It's the message. And then you go over here and he puts where General Flynn puts in the text, where we go one, we go all. And a lot of people have tried to shit on the general, say he's denounced Q, he's done this. And the general is a smart man, 5th generation warfare with Boone, right? Understanding of words and phrases and slogans and models. And he knows what where we go one, we go all represents to the community, especially the Q community. And so when Sun Tzu put out this post, I was like, ooh, this is good. I love the fact that he did it. But I was like, how's the general going to feel about this? Is it that checkpoint yet? And it didn't take very long before I got my answer. Because the general would double down and put and comment to Sun Tzu's posts, where we go one, we go all. Folks, you want to doubt the general, you want to doubt Q, you want to do all that, have at it. But there's more than enough information to support that this general knows exactly what the digital soldiers are doing, that they are controlling both sides of this narrative warfare. So they're going to be relationships and partnerships and associations with people that you're not going to like the narrative, including some of the people I don't like. But the main thing you have to be focused on is forget being attached to or hating certain people, but does the information move us closer to the objective and the mission? American sovereignty, freeing us from the globalist deep state so that our kids don't have to fight that battle. Whatever that looks like, we got to put our support behind that. And remember, information is power, but it's only half. You got to do something with that information once you have it. Donald Trump, this is from 2018, September. I'm draining the swamp, and the swamp is trying to fight back. Don't worry, we will win. Everybody says Donald Trump's draining the swamp. I'm going to drain the swamp, but everybody always forgets this part. The swamp is trying to fight back. This was never going to be an easy battle, folks. If it's going to affect our gas prices and things like that, who gives a shit? It's a small price to pay. You don't fight the most powerful, evil army that exists on this planet and think that it's not going to come without worries, concerns, or inconveniences. No, it's going to result in some major things, including loss of life. Make sure that you're praying for our president, praying for our country, and praying for our military. Julie Donuts puts President Trump's post eyes on Obama. He will be arrested. Just a matter of time. That was a couple days ago, folks. When you see the guy who said you'll never be president at your inauguration, this is what winning looks like, folks. And again, when you hear panicking, no panicking. Folks, let's get through the Rumble rants. And then I got a video for you guys on the way out that I think you will enjoy and appreciate. And that will conclude tonight's Just Alpha, episode 539 that we're on. Let me bring these up and zoom in. And I'll start with the YouTube super chats because those are easy for me to get here. We had one tonight from Pup Stuff Mom, $10. Alpha, if we wanted to suggest Donald J. Trump run again, how do we go about doing it? Well, one, post and tag him. If he doesn't see it, his team will see it. But more importantly, if you do it and other people subscribe to that idea, then more people will post to it. And the more people that post to it, the more impact that's going to have on his team. And send them a handwritten letter. Send him mail to, whether it's the White House or Mar-a-Lago, send him a handwritten letter. And that's only 5 or 6 sentences because he doesn't have a whole lot of time. You can imagine how much correspondence this man has. And tell him, sir, I don't know how you're going to do it, but if you ran again, we support it and we want it. That would be my answer to that. And again, thanks, Pump Stuff Mom over there on YouTube for contributing. Now let me bring up the Rumble rants, and then we will call it a night. I am exhausted, folks. Let me zoom in on this, make it easier for all of us to read. Here we go. Like Kim Kate, start from the bottom. Now we're here. Dollar for dollar from Flo. Just Flo, LOL. Thank you, Alpha. $10 from Princess of Galindo's. Alpha, so happy I caught you. Looking forward to seeing you and Josh tomorrow. You guys, tomorrow again, DEF CON 0 on Badlands at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Was it hell? You guys are going to love the guests we have. You're going to love the conversation that followed. Again, dollar for dollar from Flo. It's French. It means the island. Delicily. Don't worry, my little brother served, and he had the privilege to serve on the Air Force One, but his nickname was Diesel. Really? No way, Flo. That is pretty cool. Come on that. Dollar again. Flo, forget the S. All right, let me see. Or Flo, the Lily? That's what I would say, the Lily. Maybe I got it right that time. Dollar for dollar ZBM. Aliens are 100% fallen angels. Guaranteed. I will die on this hill. I've heard too many people talk about their experiences with the aliens as they found out the hard way later. They were angels. Maybe ZBM, maybe. Dollar for dollar. Continuing, like back in the days of Noah, they came, the Nephilim, of which they were finding the skeletons of. If you haven't seen them yet, you got to look up God in a Nutshell. I'll try to drop the link below. Again, continuing ZBM, fallen angels are not known as the master deceiver for no reason. Just saying. Love you, Alpha and Badlanders. Cheers from backwards, Idaho. $10 from Flying Storm at Alpha. Watch brown shirt dude wrist flick on there. Okay, I'll leave that unhighlighted so I know to go back to it. $10 again from Flying Storm. Alpha. Lucricity was direct line of sight. Charlie front left of neck. Look at him. Fingers has space between it with wrist flicked arm on fence concealment. Man, Flying, you made that hard for me to read. But I'll go back and try to decipher that and check out that link. Dollar for dollar. Rubber Duck is off the chain. Yes, he was off the chain tonight. $10 from Tinkerbell for Trump. Every single thing has been thought out. I love him. Thank you for all you do. I love the president too. Great man. $10 from Flo. A conversation with you and Rubber Duck would be awesome on Rumble. He rocks. I agree. And again, $1 from Flo. Holy crap. If Tucker will accept that, it would be awesome. Let's see. Patrick Bay David put it out there. $17 CAC from Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter. Hey man, I love your shows. Thank you. I love the support, Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter. You're an OG. $17 again, doubling down. Have you ever seen the movie The Beast? So good. It's about Russia-Afghanistan war. I have not. So let me leave that one open so I go back. $10 from The Final Demand. What's the best way to subvert a movement? Become its leader. Obama or the greatest heralds, then divide and conquer. They use that play for thousands of years because it works crazy, seeing it in real time. This is indeed true, Final Demand. So think about it. Are some of these influencers that I'm not a big fan of, are they playing the role because they're considered the lead influence on the other side of the equation? Could be. Dollar for dollar, Keith O'Higgins. Disclaimer, folks, anytime it's Keith, automatic disclaimer. Alpha, I heard those mushroom treatments are addictive and call for long-term treatments. Look at Stormy Daniels. She's only got one golden mushroom treatment. It looks like crap next to Melania, you or something else, Keith. Shout out to Carmen over there, supporter on X. She does a lot for this community, folks. She works hard, and keep her in your prayers. She's gone through a lot medically, and at times I would argue fighting for her life. So make sure you guys keep Carmen in your prayers. $1 for dollar from Geeky Patata. Spread this wide and far. It's the Bilderberg Plan for the World Economy, 1954. All right, definitely have to go back and check that one out. And final one, $1 from Flo. Illy. You're not helping me, Flo. Think Spanish a little. LOL. I think at this point you are just trolling me, Flo. I think you were just trolling me. Folks, I'm going to say prayer to close us out. And then again, I have a video that I'm pretty sure you guys are definitely going to enjoy. And at the end of that video will be another video that closes out. So it'll be back-to-back videos. But the next one is the one that's a little bit of a surprise. And I think you guys will enjoy. And let me minimize the chat again so I can read this with you guys. 1 second, trying to keep track of the numbers. All right, so here we go. Bow your heads and close your eyes if it's safe to do so. Father, thank you for another day of life. Thank you for this show, Father. Continue to guide my words, my thoughts, my actions. Continue to strengthen my discernment, the discernment of my audience, Father. I ask that as things become more confusing in the coming weeks, that you protect those that have put themselves in harm's way to protect our country, to protect humanity, to protect our children. Father, there was a special request tonight from Brad Schiller that requested that we pray for their healing. Father, you say where there's two or more, you're there. And we have a lot of people, thousands of people watching tonight. Hopefully, the majority of them are praying, Father. Bring healing to those that need your mercy. And Father, if healing is not the answer for their testimony, then help them with the strength and help them to know that they're not alone in the trial that they have to go through. And help them to understand that whatever pain or ailment or trial that they're going through is because it's something that's going to lead to their salvation or the salvation of others. Father, I ask that you put your healing hand over my family, over my neighbors, and my audience. And Father, continue to protect me from my own ego and my own motives. We pray and we ask all this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Well, folks, that will be the end of this. Again, tune in tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern on this. I've got special guests coming on the show. We're going to be talking a little bit about LifeWave. And then following that show is going to be DeathCon. And the first part of it's going to be recorded. The recorded portion is going to be with our special guests. And then afterwards, the live portion of the show is going to be us debriefing that conversation. And then a Rumble rant coming in at the end, $5 from BS Girl 1950. Thank you, Alpha, for your hard work, but mostly your integrity and your heart. Thank you, folks. And pray for me. I am human. I'm not an alien. So I am exhausted. And I can also fall victim to misinformation, disinformation. So please say a special prayer for me. So with that, here is the surprise video for you guys tonight, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow night. Good night. God bless, and Semper Fi.
Breaker 19, this here's a rubber duck.
Military intelligence. What is state secrets and how are they upheld in the Supreme Court? What must be completed to engage military intelligence over other three-letter agencies? What must occur to allow for civilian trials? Why is this relevant?
How many coincidences?
Before it becomes mathematically impossible.
Wait until you learn who has been talking to you here.
What was Flynn's background? Why is this relevant? Why did Admiral Rogers of the NSA meet Trump privately without authorization? Does POTUS know where the bodies are buried? Does POTUS have the goods on most bad actors?
How many coincidences?
Before it becomes mathematically impossible.
Wait until you learn who has been talking to you here.
Was Trump asked to run for president? Why? By who? Was Hillary Clinton next in line? Was the election supposed to be rigged? Did good people prevent the rigging? Why did POTUS form a panel to investigate? Has Trump as POTUS ever made a statement that did not become proven as true or fact?
How many coincidences?
Before it becomes mathematically impossible.
Wait until you learn who has been talking to you here.
What is the president in control of? What is the one organization left that isn't corrupt? Why does the military play such a vital role? Why is Trump surrounded by highly respected generals? Who guards former presidents? Why is that relevant? Who guards Hillary?
How many coincidences?
Before it becomes mathematically impossible.
Wait until you learn who has been talking to you here.
Why is Antifa allowed to operate? Why hasn't the Muslim Brotherhood been classified as a terrorist organization? What happens if Soros-funded operations get violent and engage in domestic terrorism? What happens if mayors, police commissioners, and chiefs do not enforce the law? What authority does the POTUS have specifically over the Marines? Why is this important?
How many coincidences?
Before it becomes mathematically impossible.
Wait until you learn who has been talking to you here.
What is Mueller's background? Military. Was Trump asked to run for president with assurances made to prevent tampering? How is POTUS always 5 steps ahead? Who is helping Trump?
How many coincidences?
Before it becomes mathematically impossible.
Wait until you learn who has been talking to you here. How many coincidences?
Before it becomes mathematically impossible.
Wait until you learn who has been talking to you here.
As the world watches and listens in horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering do or die around me.
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by Psywar.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldier, and at the same time
is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
Gripping at my skin, the walls of night closing.
But the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
As I wait to say my last goodbye.
These are the Psywar soldiers.